Welcome to another game of Mage Knight. After finishing the review against the last game against the dragon, I really think I should give it another go and try to make it a cleaner win. I unfortunately did a lot of mistakes, mostly I could compensate them, but my main oversight was really that when the dragon attacks you and you defend against him, you will get fame, 1 in the first round, 2 in the second, and so on, so overall it's 10 fame, and of course that makes a huge difference. To be quite honest, since we were already playing level 9 last time without getting all this fame, it does seem that there is not much room for making the dragon even harder. This might even be a real hard mode that you are not getting fame, because I do think the dragon attacking you is the balancing factor for the final battle where you only have to kill the dragon, and every head you kill will not attack you, so it's easy to avoid more damage coming in. But nevertheless, I want to give it another go. This time, hopefully without any of these kinds of mistakes. I will try to play it in one sitting. Only difference to last game, besides hopefully not making any errors, is that I'm going for level 10 now, which does mean the control head has a psychic attack of 10. I have to say that the levels of the control head that improve the other heads I find a bit dubious, because you more likely than not are killing 1, 2 or hopefully even 3 heads before taking that attack, which does mean this level 12 head here would improve 1, 2, maybe 3 other heads. So it would be 3, 6, or in the worst case 9 attack. And that doesn't sound that much. So I'm not sure how this is supposed to be balanced. Fighting against possessed enemies, of course, is a quite different beast. And 10 psychic attack is just straightforward. Also notable is that on level 10, all the attacks are physical for some reason. 2 are freezing, 1 is poisonous, 1 is swift and poisonous, so it could be a strategy on level 10 to go for block, but let's try to kill most of them at range as usual. As for the resistances, 2 are again called fire resistant, 1 is fire resistant this time, not cold, and another 1 is physical. So in a sense it's just a mirror image of last game where we had the only difference that one head was ice resistant instead of fire. As for the character, I'm playing with Wolfhawk, with Goldix being my dummy. The advanced action offer shows magic talent that could be a way to use spells without learning them or learning them for the next rounds, although I do not like just getting a spell in quotes without having the ability to use it right away. But it's still a very nice card. Mana Storm I would like to avoid in solo, but with Bliss Rules and 4 dice, it is actually a good mana card, I think. But with 3 dice, I think it's not good. And Diplomacy, I am actually a bit tempted because it's another influence source, and we were lacking influence a lot in the last game. And it doubles as a blocking card if need be to actually defend against the dragon, for example. As for the spells, we have Demolish, Space Bending and Wings of Wind. Unfortunately, no direct range attack. Demolish does not work at all against the dragon. Space and Time Bending can be interesting, but they are not straightforward dragon killers. And Wings of Wind is a good movement spell, but the Wings of Night ability doesn't work against the dragon again because it's targeting the dragon and they are arcane immune. As for the units, this time we have a lot of level 1s, so the Scouts, Herbalists and Foresters, which I all like a lot. The Foresters are quite a beast when it comes to absorbing damage. They have a block 3 and an armor 4 and are just level 1, so easy to heal. So this unit alone will again deal with 2 attacks of the dragon. So blocking 1 with a block of 3 and then soaking up any other attack up to 4, although you do have to heal them afterward. The Herbalist might also be interesting because they have heal 2. That might be a way to take the damage from the dragon and just heal it afterwards. And the Scouts as usual are quite versatile, giving you movement, giving you a range attack, even though it's just 1 point. And they can really make it easy to get to the core tiles without having too much movement. The Familiars I could hire, since there is a Glade on the map, but I usually do not like to hire them that early because they are quite mana hungry. As for the map, we have a classic tile here that was rotated twice, I think, which doesn't mean the altar is actually facing me, it's in forest. And I would have to defeat 2 unknown green tokens to get a full set of crystals, which is interesting, but I'm not sure this is a good first action. There are trackers, which gives 3 fame, and of course we are playing Bliss Rules, so even 2 fame would level me. So this is the ticket to an early level 2. But without 2 swiftness, I cannot kill them at range, and to block them I would probably need determination. Then a rage in any card sideways will do, or I just take the 2 damage. There is a village then, where we can hire most of the units. But it's in Swampland, so 5 movement, which is the same cost as the Oasis, where I can also hire all of them. And the Revitalize will actually net reduce the movement cost to 3, because I have to invest it up front, but then when I move away, I will have the 2 movement points back. Which could mean that for 1 movement point, we are just moving on to the mine, where I can get a white or blue crystal, see the defenders of the keep, and then maybe take this in the 3rd turn. I could not hire that then, but it's actually not relevant because there are no keep units, but it's the only fortified site currently on the map, so it would allow me to ignore 2 heads. And then I would already be in a position to reveal 2 of the countryside tiles. The layout is just a suggestion, you don't have to put them like this. I'm laying them out for optical reasons for the camera, so we actually have to roll when we reveal things, and of course you could go deep with the countryside tiles and then fill up with core tiles later or something like this. But on the other hand, it's a good shape to begin with. There's also a cigarette, but again, it's day, it's in desert, and I feel like, as with mazes to be honest, it's nothing that you visit at level 1. And it's also out of position, so I'm not actually tempted by this. As for the opening hand, we do have some movement with March, some attack with Rage, some influence with Threaten, so we could hire, a Crystallize to prepare, and a concentration that could make any of these cards better. Which does mean we could try to reach the village or the oasis to hire and use the Threaten. We could also kill the trackers and level up, for example taking Diplomacy and then using this to hire. And of course see what the skill gives me. And I think the only option that I could think about, instead of going to the oasis or the village, is the ruins here with the 2 enemies and a complement of crystals. But to even attempt that, I would have to move there, get rid of all the non-combat cards in the process, like Crystallize for preparation, March, and maybe tossing Threaten because I need the odd movement point to traverse the forest at day, and then hope that I redraw at least the swiftness so I can kill 1 token at range and have a rage for the other. That will probably make us level twice, but it might leave us with wounds and we cannot reach the glade without provoking yet another unit. And also to point it out, there are no spells that are a good follow-up if I take some damage here and I'm stuck there to take Magic Talent and then cast a spell from the offer, because it's just movement, or a counter to fortifications. So that seems a bit risky. The problem with this village really is that it's in a swamp area, and after taking the village, which I can only reach by killing the trackers, there's really no way forward here, unless I'm taking Magic Talent and then casting Wings of Wind. But it's tempting after reaching the village to hire, and the foresters are probably better than the herbalists, but they are also more expensive. We do start with a +1 influence bonus, but there's still a difference of 2 influence, so with the cards as they are lying here, I would have to ruin my reputation right away to even get the foresters, whereas the herbalists I can just hire with playing Threaten without improving it. The oasis, on the other hand, as said in the beginning, sets me on a track for the mine and then for the keep. And the added bonus is that after the 3rd turn, if I can then take it, which I do hope I can, I could even take it in 2 turns probably, that I can then seek shelter there and ignore 2 of the heads. Because as last time with level 1 heads, there is a brutal fire attack, which does mean 2 wounds because it's brutal, and it's really hard to block that. And a freezing 2 attack, which I really have to ignore, otherwise I will just lose my whole hand. Then a swift 2 attack, that's the easiest one because it's just a wound. And then a poisons 2. Again, you do not want to take that, it would be 2 wounds, so you really have to block that. But my point is 2 you can't really block, and they're really annoying, you have to prevent them. 1 is easy to block, 1 is easy to take. So taking shelter in a fortified site, I think in the first turn is highly preferable to seeking shelter just in an inhabited site. Also, I think I did not mention it last time, in a magical glade you can also fend off dragon heads by paying the corresponding mana that corresponds to the head. So for all of the 4 basic mana colors, there's 1 head that you can then ignore. So in essence, if you would have the mana, you could pay 4 mana to cancel all the attacks. But that's pretty much the setup. The source is really friendly to gold die, a white and a red, which brings us to considering the tactics. As always, early bird and the right mode are not that attractive to me. The great start might actually be tempting, because with the hand as given, we are almost there in powering through to the village, killing the trackers on the way. So we need 7 movement and 6 attack, and then we would sit on a village with 2 wounds, which are then healable with influence. Or maybe get a Wolfhawk skill that has healing. Or we are powering through to the oasis, again that's 7 movement, and then hire the herbalist with Threaten, for example. But in both cases, drawing more cards might actually be helpful. If we draw a promise, for example, I would highly consider going to the oasis and hiring the foresters, otherwise we can still do it with the herbalists. If we draw more attack, we can think about going here and then killing the trackers, for example. Or with the extra 2 cards, if they are a swiftness, for example, another combat card, we could even consider going to the ruins and try this. But what happens if I'm drawing cards that are not that relevant? Then this is already squandered. So this is why I usually gravitate towards planning, which is then also 2 cards after a first good turn, but we would need a first turn then. Mana Steal is also interesting because the first turns I'm currently planning could be mana intensive, and this would allow me to power more cards. Although I could only steal white and red. I have no white card, but red could, for example, be something that I want to power depending on if I want the forces anyway and screw my reputation, or if I'm powering rage with the idea to kill the trackers. And Rethink I could use to swap out cards, but I'm not sure to what end actually with the current plans I have. So in a sense, taking Great Start would make me then consider what I do, because all three options are then open and I can decide with the extra 2 cards what suits best. Whereas the other tactics pretty much mean I have to think about what to do now. Except for Rethink, but I would not know what to swap out, to be honest. So do we have a good turn 1? And to be honest, the fact that I will be attacked after 3 turns and there's only one fortified side which I can reach via Oasis Mine, and it's in plains even, so it's really easy to take. This sounds like a plan I have to take. Otherwise, where am I taking shelter? Of course, I can take shelter in the village, but it's 1 head more, and I have no plan on how to deal with these 2 heads, to be honest. And after 3 turns, I will not have leveled, interact with the village, hired, and maybe used magic talent to go somewhere else, because it's really unwieldy terrain here. So I do think this is kind of out of the question, and this one here is just too risky. But this means I will level after turn 3 only, but before the dragon attack, so I will know what skills I have. But how do I reach the Oasis? Do I really want to play concentration and crystallize sideways to then play threaten and higher? That's a very efficient first turn, but it uses 2 of the cards that you usually want to play for something else. That's a very efficient first turn, but it uses 2 of the cards you usually want to play for something else. And the point is I cannot do it with planning, because I will play all cards but 1, so planning will not even kick in. Unless I'm not hiring right away, but that would mean I will need a second turn on the Oasis, and then I could not stop at the mine. I would have to power through the hills, plains with unknown defenders and take the keep in the 3rd turn. I don't like that at all, which does mean planning is actually out of the question, and Mana Steal doesn't help me at all unless I want to get the forces instead of the herbalists, so I could steal the red and use a gold for concentration and then hire the foresters. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm leaning actually to Great Start, because any movement card, the promise, and improvisation, that will all help, and depending on what I get, I can even rethink what to do. Let's try to go with Oasis, Mine, Keep, defend against the dragon here, explore 2 tiles already, and see where we can go from there. Alright, so as usual, has lots of options, but no perfect first turn, and especially not a good first turn that allows me to play planning, so that's out of the question. Won't take those 2 as well. The Mana Steal could be interesting if it would allow a good first turn, but it's not the case, and I somewhat do like my cards, so I'm not rethinking that as well. So we will take a Great Start, draw 2 more cards, and then plan from there. The dummy will now most likely go before me, but as we have seen in the other game, you usually get your 6 turns anyway, so it doesn't matter too much, and you do not want to drag it out even longer. And the dummy goes with Mana Steal, which does mean the order is Goldix, Wolfhawk, and then the dragon. And Goldix plays white, red, and blue. He has 1 blue crystal, so 1 green. This brings us to our first turn, and we first draw 2 cards because of Great Start, which is a Rage, and one of our Swiftness, which is Wolfhawk Swift Reflexes. So we did draw one of our Swiftness and another battle card. So in a sense, Concentration Swiftness will probably kill 1 token, and then we would even have 2 Rage left. So I'm reconsidering the ruins here, because this is enough movement to reach it. We only need 5. That could be a sideways threaten. And then we have to crystallize. That does not really fit in. But we should think about the dragon, of course, because we can take this in the 2nd turn, the earliest, I think, to have access to the source again. And how do we proceed from there? So after a long back and forth and thinking about the ruins and killing all this, it's just too risky, might leave us with wounds without a plan to heal them. So we end up going with the original plan. We use a gold die with concentration, use it on March to get 6 movement and play 1 rage that we've drawn with Great Start sideways for 7 movement. That means Wolfhawk steps through the portal, the planes are 2 movement, the Oasis is 5 a day, so all this is discarded, and then we play a Threaten with our initial Blitz bonus to get Influence 3, and that's enough to hide Herbalists in the Oasis. So we have picked up our first unit in the first turn, and we can use Revitalize to move on, so in a sense, this was only movement 3. This seems very efficient to then cross via the Crystal Mine to the keep and then defend against the dragon. I was about to execute all this, but then I realized that we did not even talk about what a dragon does after his first turn, because he will destroy a site, And since from the portal this is range 3, so all these spaces here are range 3, which makes the keep and these 3 spaces, which are not interesting, the furthest away. So the dragon will destroy the keep after his first turn, and there's nothing we can do about that. We would need to reveal any of these tiles, and they are all too far off for the first turn. Which does mean going to the keep is not an option, and this really eliminates the whole avenue of the oasis here. Which limits us to trying the ruins, or just use the trackers to level and go from there, or stick with the plan to spend 7 movements at the edge of the map with swamps just to hire first. An option I did not consider at all is to move here with 5 movements, just 1 point more, and kill the trackers but not even bother with the ruins, because that would clear the way to the glade, so we know we can move on to the glade. So we could even take wounds with the trackers and start healing them with the glade. And the glade could be a way to defend us, although we do not have the crystals then. But we could hire the familiars if we make it there in 3 turns and have enough influence. Maybe even the best option would be to power through to the glade right away, provoking the trackers, killing them, and then starting to heal wounds. But that would be 8 movement, which we just don't have. This is 6 and we would already need a mana, so it could be 7, 8. But without blocking them, how do we produce 6 attack if we cannot power the rage even? So doing that in one go is not a good idea. Maybe in 2 steps is an idea. So in the first time we could power the march, and then we just need 1 more movement point, which could be a rage. So the next time we need movement 3 to reach the glade. We would have movement here, and with any other card sideways, for example, that could be 3 movement. And then we could kill the trackers with this and hold on to this to hire in the glade and then start healing the wound we get. So here we need another mana. This is why we need to make it 2 turns. We would then sit on the glade in the 3rd turn, having healed 1 wound before even drawing up for the 3rd turn. So we would have a threaten, a wound and 3 more cards, but then we would be attacked by the dragon. But without any crystals, without fully attending, we would not have any mana to prevent an attack from any of the heads. This is quite a puzzle, it turns out. So taking shelter in at least any inhabited side will be 1 head, which makes me think that if we hire maybe something that can deal with 2 heads, inhabited side will be 1 head, then it's manageable. So maybe the goal has to be after 3 turns to be an inhabited side, which would mean the village or the oasis. The difference between the two is really that the oasis would move us forward with a clear path. Even if it's destroyed, it's still plains, so it's easy to progress from there, and is a mine for crystals. Whereas this village is kind of a dead end, but there are trackers which makes us level. So the difference really is crystals and the path forward versus leveling up. But if we want to sit here, what are we doing 3 turns? Whereas here there is probably a way to do that in 3 turns. We could move here, then move here and kill them, and then in the 3rd turn higher. But it's 9 movement to even get there. I feel like we are back to square one, where the ruins are actually our best bet. So this was the original plan for the ruins, to have all the combat cards and kill something at range and hope to kill the other token with the rages, not get too many wounds, so we can move on to the glade, where we have to fight again, unfortunately. But maybe just with diplomacy to block, because we could use that. And depending on what skill we get, that might help as well. And then we have a full complement of crystals and a glade, which then will be destroyed after the 3rd turn. But it could mean that we are at least healing 2 times in the glade and get a mana. So I fear that with the keep being destroyed and this being a really bad position, this is our best shot. And inversing this to go here, kill this, to level up and then take this, doesn't leave us at the glade after the 2nd turn, so you would not be able to heal. And this is just, with the cards I have, is not the best to kill. I'm not playing 2 rages and powering swift reflexes just to kill trackers. So let's go there and see what happens. This first turn turns out quite to be a puzzle. We already decided once to go for the oasis, higher, go for the mine and the keep, and then defend in the keep after 3rd turn, until we realized that the dragon after the 1st turn will actually destroy the keep, because there are no other sides that are in the same distance as the keep. This is the 3 distance line, so this is 4 distance and there's just 1 side that you can destroy. So the keep is actually not an option, which means that we are back to using this tile, and the village is really hard to make use of because it's 9 movement away. The trackers we cannot really kill that easily currently. So what we end up doing, and this involves a lot of gambling, but it's better than all the alternatives, is to use a gold die for March, play the crystallize sideways for movement 5 in total, so these 2 are discarded, and then Wolfhawk steps through the portal to the plains into the ruins in forest for another 3 movement, but we are not going in, of course, because we have no mana sources and we already used our 1 source die. So we have to leave it here for the 1st turn. Die stays golden, so mana seems to not be an issue. but for the fact that we can only use 1 die per turn. But it's our first turn, and the dragon in his first turn, as we realized a little bit late in planning, to be honest, will destroy the keep. So there would have been crossbowmen again, funny, like in the last game I mean. The keep is destroyed, and we mark this with fire and rubble. That brings us to the second turn. Goldix is playing green, white, and another green. That's 2 more cards, which is blue and white. So not the best. He's speeding up a little bit, which brings us to our second turn. And in this, we want to use our firepower to clear the ruins. The trackers are really not efficient to kill with this. It would have been an option to just take the wounds, come up with 6 attack, and then in the third turn go to the glade. But we are tempted by all the fame and the full complement of crystals. So let's see what happens. So Wolfhawk enters the ruins and we pull 2 random green enemies. And this is the point where we can get really screwed, or it can be okay. But I think there's not even a chance for a perfect pull. And the first enemy is Orc Warbeast. I think I mentioned that in planning, that could be a good option for this. But this then can screw us over if, for example, it's the catapult. So what's the second enemy? Ironclads, which are physically resistant and brutal. That's literally brutal. So we are facing 2 brutal enemies, which is really not good. So with a source die, of course, we can kill the Warbeasts at range. That's a 5 range attack. But we cannot even kill the other token. We can just block it. Since we do not have another mana die, and this means even with the sideways threaten, it's not 6 damage. And we would, if we're not blocking this, get 4 wounds. Yeah, but I don't see any other options. We have to kill this, level, get a skill, and leave this without us having 4 wounds. So let's just do that. We knew that this kind of pull was an option. There are many green tokens that are not actually that easy to kill, and some have really annoying attacks, and we pulled 2 brutal enemies, and this would give us 3 wounds, this would get us 4. So this is really not an option to take this damage. And since this takes 6 damage, which we do not have in range, and we would only have with a mana in melee, even with the sideways threaten, there's really no other option than to use a gold source die for concentrations with reflexes for a range attack of 5 and kill the Warbeasts. That will be 3 fame at least, and since it splits, it will catapult us to 5 fame, but we don't get a reputation, of course. So this is played, and even if we would take the 4 wounds from this, we would not be able to kill it because we don't have any mana left. So we have to play to rage to just block the attack, not get any wounds. Which does mean these will stay with the ruin, and if we are not having any idea how to kill this, we are not clearing the ruins, unfortunately. So this is re-rolled. Die comes a blue. So if we would draw a determination, that would be nice. But let's see what skills we get for level up that hopefully changes things. And the skill choice is between Taunt, which can reduce an attack by 1, or increase an attack by 2, but reduce the armor by 2. But then you can only use this in the blocking phase. And the other skill is Hawk Eyes, which gives you movement, makes exploring cheaper at night, and at day you can see garrisons with a distance of 2. And I feel like we have to take Taunt because we do have to solve some puzzles here on how to kill any of those, and reducing an attack by 1 can make the difference, and reducing the armor by 2 would reduce this to an armor 1 enemy, which is still physical resistance, so it still takes 2 attack, and it, of course we then have to deal with an attack of 6, but it might be a way to kill this and get our set of crystals. So as much as I like this, I think we have to go with Taunt for this. So we move this to the center and add a Goldix skill for the next level up. And again, I feel like to have any chance to progress, we need block now. So we are picking up diplomacy so we can make use of our Taunt skill or have a way to deal with these elusive enemies. So Mana Storm and Magic Talon do not help with this. So I feel like diplomacy is our combat skill that we need to make progress. Goldix skill is flight. That's interesting. That's nice. And the advanced action offer refreshes with Mountain Lore, a movement skill that I really like. But that's the level up then, and we are drawing up to 5 cards. So there's the Diplomacy, which together with Threaten is a lot of block. A Stamina, so movement card. Tranquility, that might actually be nice to heal some wounds when we are fighting now. And a Promise, so even more influence. Unfortunately, there is no attack here. But let's first do the turn of the dragon, which in the second turn he does nothing. Which leads us to the third turn of Goldix. And he is playing blue, green, and then white, where he does not have a crystal off, so that's nice. And we are on our third turn, which does mean we are attacked by the dragon after this turn. So unfortunately, even if we are leveling up, we are just getting an armor of 3, which for the level 1 heads is not that interesting. And also if we now proceed to the glade, we will not have the mana to prevent any attacks of the dragon. Which could mean that we are just loading up on wounds and then using the glade to get rid of all this. But let's first see what we can do against these tokens here. Without even a single mana, it would be a block 6 that could block this token when taunted. So the armor would be reduced to 1, but we would need to play all the other cards sideways. So we could defeat that without getting any wounds, clear the ruins, get 4 fame, level up again, and getting a full complement of crystals, and then draw 5 more cards. So that's an option. We could even hold on to cards because we did not even use our Source Die yet, which is actually important because we can hold on to Tranquility, for example, to then heal wounds from the dragon. And for the trackers, using Taunt is actually even more efficient because they are not physical resistant. So if we block them, the 3 armor holds and -2 sets it to 1. So the easiest way to deal with trackers would probably be to play Diplomacy to block and just power it, then use a Threaten, for example, to get block 6, taunt them, block the trackers, and kill them with 1 card sideways. We could then also move to the Glade, forfeiting Tranquility just for getting to the Glade. But it wouldn't do us any good because we're not taking any wounds, so going to the Glade is actually quite pointless. And it would also mean that we do not have a chance to clear the ruins after all. And Diplomacy doesn't do us any good if you're not even at the Glade. But for the plan to work, we would have to deal with the freezing attack, which would be easy to block if we are using Taunt. But for this, we would need to fully attend. And with all the other heads, we would still get 2 wounds from this head, 1 wound from this, 1 wound from this, and 1 in the discard pile. So 4 in hand, 1 in the discard pile. But we could heal this, especially if we fully attend, we could heal 2 right away. But it would be our 4th turn then. Killing the Ironclads instead really has the problem that we need another card sideways to even kill them. But it could mean that we still have the Tranquility. So we have the same 6 block, taunting, reducing the armor by 2, playing this as inefficient damage. And we still have Tranquility, and we can actually power this with crystals without fully attending, but we could not use Taunt. And then it of course depends on what we draw. But I do think I like this option better because we might wiggle ourselves out of this situation without fully attending. And we still have the option to fully attend because we do have this full set of crystals. I think not doing the ruins would be far too inefficient to proceed with this game. So I like this idea better. Let's go with the ruins. So we haven't drawn any attack cards, but we have drawn a lot of influence, which is a lot of block. And with Taunt, we do have a way to do some damage, so to speak, by reducing the armor by 2, which especially against the Ironclads is quite efficient. So we could kill either token, but we decide to go with the full set of crystals because we then have to endure the attack of the dragon and we won't be in the Glade. So we finish what we start and go for the ruins again, where there's just the Ironclads now. We then use a white Source Die to power Diplomacy and play Threaten for 6 influence that we can use as block. So we taunt the Ironclads, so they have an attack of 6 and we block them. And then we play the Promise and a March sideways for 2 attack, which is inefficient against the 1 physical resistant armor, which does kill them, so we don't get any wounds, and we hold on to Tranquility. That's the important part. So the skill was used, those are destroyed. We do get 4 fame, so we level and are at 9. With Blitz rules, we are actually at 10. The level up gives us another command slot, but we didn't hire anything yet, and our 3rd armor, which unfortunately against the dragon doesn't do us any good currently. Of course, we also finish this then. I get a full set of crystals, so a red and a blue, and a green and a white. This is discarded, and we do mark the ruins with our shield after all. We reroll the die, comes up as green, and we do have the Tranquility and draw 4 more cards. We only have 6 in the deck, so let's see what we get. A Swiftness, a March, an Improvisation, and a Tirelessness. So unfortunately no Determination, and also no mana draw. So these are the 2 cards left. That's our 3rd turn. The dragon will then attack us in his 3rd turn, and we have to think about if we want to fully attend or not. So the puzzle we are solving here currently is that we do need to defend against the dragon without dying, and then have another turn we can actually kill the trackers. The dummy has 4 cards in the deck, so unless we're hitting green or blue, we will have 3 turns. Otherwise it will just be 2 after the current turn. There are no more green cards in his deck and there's 1 blue, so it's actually a good chance that we will have 3 turns. But let's talk about the dragon. So the Tranquility can heal us 2 wounds, which is the wound from the swift attack and from the poison attack, I think, and the wound in discard pile we just have to take. That leaves 2 wounds from this head that we then need to take in hand, and of course we need to take care of the cold attack that freezes, otherwise we will not even have Tranquility left in hand. So there's really no option but to block this attack, which would mean 4 block. That's the better part of our cards. Or we taunt it, and then it's 2 block, which is still, unfortunately, 2 cards, because we did not draw anything that can block. And to taunt, we have to fully attend, but it also means that we can use a source die instead of a crystal. So fully attending would mean it's our 4th turn, and if we then have 3 more turns, and the 4th counts for this, we would have 2 more turns after that. If we are unlucky, there's just 1 turn after that then. So I think we have to plan with fully attending, because this does preserve cards, because then we can block with either of these 2 cards sideways, and we can just think about what cards we need for the trackers. If you're not fully attending, we could power improvisation with another crystal, so that's 2 crystals then, and improvisation would be gone because we need that to reach for block. Actually, we would need 3 cards then, even because this is just, well, if we power this 5. Yeah, so we can play the improvisation with another card. It's also 2 with a crystal. So the choice really is, do we want to spend 2 crystals or 1 source die and just 2 cards sideways with taunt? And do we need to hold on to improvisation? Once we draw determination, if we power that, that's already 5 blocks, so the trackers are easily blocked. And then the improvisation would kill them without even powering it. The alternative is to taunt them, play 1 more card as block sideways, and we can then kill them with anything, so it doesn't even need to be an improvisation. But to be honest, I think fully attending is out of the question, just for the reason that in this turn that we then spend, we would not move to the glade, and every turn we move to the glade, we will heal more wounds. And I think we need to spend some time at the glade. So let's remove this. This is then back. We then, I think, need to power this. And 1 other card we then need to toss. And since in the next turn we want to move to the glade, we would provoke the trackers anyway. That means that we play 1 card sideways, probably mana draw, to reach 3 movement and reach the glade with any other card. Then play the determination to block them. But to actually kill them, we would need to taunt them, play another card sideways, another card sideways to kill them. Because of the improvisation, we just don't have that. Which does sound like we need the improvisation, to be honest. If we have a 5th and a 6th turn, we will at least heal twice. Maybe that has to be enough, so if we are not in the glade after the 4th turn. And also the point is that whatever we hold on to after the dragon, we will have 2 additional wounds. So if we play 2 cards only, we will not draw anything. So we even have to move and kill the trackers with the cards that we already have in hand. So I think we are back to fully attending, not using improvisation, but tranquility, taunting the freezing head, and then blocking it, unfortunately, with an inefficient block of 2. So in the next turn we have the tirelessness. We will draw 1 card, but drawing 1 card might not be enough to kill it. If it's not a determination, or even if it is a determination, I think we can't kill it, because the improvisation to kill it would take another card, or if we power the determination, we would need yet another card sideways to reach 6 block, which then would mean 1 other card sideways will kill it. But in all scenarios, we are lacking a card. So I think by fully attending and saving the crystals, we need to start using them, which does mean this can move us without another card into the glade if we power it. But it doesn't change the fact that we are lacking 1 point of damage or block or a card. So maybe we have to change plans. Maybe killing the trackers is not the way to go. Maybe we just block them, even though it's highly inefficient. But that could allow us to hire the familiars and use them to heal the rest of the wounds. So fully attend, save on crystals, spend these cards, then move next turn, and using improvisation to come up to 6 influence. That would at least net us with a good unit and make use of our crystals. Maybe we can even explore something. This is really a tough map and a tough start, and I think hiring would probably be better. This is the problem with these risky situations where you draw, and to be honest, looking at the green tokens, it was quite likely that we will get stuck there. But then again, there are ways where we have wounds but cleared it. So then we just, in quotes, need to reach the glade to heal. But I think it was a bad strategy to begin with. So let's just go on and take the beating. There really are no really good ways to proceed with this. What's clear is that we do need to block this head, because otherwise we will lose the tranquility and then we are really screwed. Which does mean we are fully attending. So we are flipping our round order token. But this means we can use our skill and the source. And with the skill with taunt, we will taunt this head, which is possible because it's not targeting the dragon, but one of its attacks. Funnily enough, although thematically taunt will target the dragon, but from the description it's just reducing 1 attack by 1, and this is possible with arcane immune enemies. So it's now an ice attack of 1, and we play these 2 cards sideways, which is quite wasteful to come up with 1 inefficient block point to block this head. The rest of the heads then will just pummel us, which is 1 wound from this swift head, 1 wound in hand and 1 discard pile from this, and then from the brutal head that's another 2 wounds, because we still have an armor of 3 and it's an attack of 4, unfortunately, if unblocked. Which does mean 5 wounds in total, 1 to the discard pile, 2 to the hand, but we can pull a green source die and cast Tranquility to throw away 2 wounds right away. That's not what you call optimal in any way, shape or form, but let's see how far we get with this. So since we fully attended, we will now reroll the die, stays green, and we will draw one of our remaining 2 cards, which is either a Determination or a mana draw. And it's the Determination. But it was the 3rd turn of the dragon, so the 4th turn of the dummy will also be quite fateful if he cuts the round short or not. So let's see, he's playing blue, I think, which is nice, which means that we do have one more turn then. So that's red and red. He doesn't have a red crystal, and the last card is also not of a color where he has a crystal of. It's red. So the dummy gives us a long round. That was his 4th turn. Our 4th turn is just flipping back the round order token. And the dragon will not do anything with his 4th turn. So we are already in the 5th, in which the dummy will exhaust his deck, which does mean we can play our 5th. The dragon will destroy a site. Then the dummy will announce the end of round. We will play our 6th, and the dragon will not destroy anything else. But the dragon is flying back to his unknown lair, and we can play our 5th turn. Alright, and as already planned for, we do need to get going finally, which does mean 3 movement to finally reach the glade, but it will provoke the trackers, of course, and we do have to block them, and I think the Determination is good spent for this. Taunting will only reduce it to 3, so there's no gain, or increase it to 6, which would mean we need another block point, and we are lacking one other card to then kill them, which does mean we are just moving there and taking no wounds, but at the end of turn we can then remove a wound. And I think there's nothing else we can do really. But we almost forgot again that defending against the heads gives fame. So we got 1 fame from defending against the dragon in the 1st round, which bumps us up to 11. But now we have to really reach the glade and recoup, which does mean we are playing a Tirelessness with a blue crystal for 4 movement, paying 3 to reach the forest glade, which does provoke the trackers, unfortunately. But killing them would not even level us, and we can't really do it, so we do have to block them. Taunt, unfortunately, doesn't make a difference here because it's only reducing it to 3. So we are powering Determination with the blue source die, getting block 5, not getting any wounds, but we can't kill them as well. So that's pretty much our 5th turn. At the end of the turn we will heal a wound since we are on the glade, and we heal it from the discard pile because it doesn't make a difference here with the hand size, so we throw away this wound. And we will have a gold token for our final last 6th turn. So let's reroll this. Stays blue. We do draw the mana draw, and the dragon will now destroy another site. So the orc, the village, the mine, and the ziggurat are all the same size from the portal. The ziggurat is an adventure site, of course, so it doesn't count. So he either destroys the mine, which I really do not want to do, depending on where I go. The trackers I might want to kill later, so I think I'm going with the village in the swamp where I don't want to go anyway. So let's destroy this. And that's the 5th turn of the dragon. In the 6th, the dummy will announce the end of round. So let's remove all this, and we can play our 6th turn. And I do think we have to recruit, otherwise we are really falling behind, which is an improvisation mana draw with the red source die. That's influence 5 plus 1 from reputation is 6, so we can actually pick up the magic familiars. And we do have a gold token to choose whatever we want to improve here. And I think it doesn't matter at all because we will probably activate them to heal, because movement is impossible because we already interacted to hide them. And attack or block is questionable because I don't think we can actually defeat them. Well, we can't anyway because we already interacted. But even if we improve the attack, it's 5, they need 6, so we still need to block. But we could taunt them and then destroy them with an attack of 5, that's true. And it would mean we get another 2 wounds standing on a glade. But we would not heal them, so we would end up with 3 wounds. So I think we just heal 1 with the glade, 1 with the familiars, and it doesn't matter at all. So there's not that much to do, but since we hold on to the improvisation, we can toss the mana draw, use a red source die for influence 5, plus 1 is 6. So we can pick up the familiars, and I already placed the token here to show that we can improve anything, and it doesn't matter at all because we already interacted. So fighting is out of the question, moving is out of the question. So the only option is really healing. And with the glade, we would heal 1 wound anyway, so all the wounds are healed. At least that much is good. But that's our 6th turn then. The dragon does not get a 6th turn, so it's the end of round 1. So this would be a reroll, doesn't matter. We have to pay the familiars, so the token is gone of course. And we can either improve move, influence, attack or heal. Notably not the block, that would be a block 7. But it sounds a bit overkill anyway. Block 4 will block the trackers, so we can easily kill them next round if we activate them, which would mean that it doesn't matter what we improve. Attack is a bit questionable, to be honest, so I think I'd rather go with move or influence, which is quite flexible. 5 move or 5 influence can both be really good, especially to catch up. Heal 3 instead of heal 2 is probably not the biggest difference in the world. So I think we go with influence and move, which does mean we ready them. Mana Steal and Great Start are gone. The dummy does pick up a white card and a white crystal, which is a bit unfortunate, but we could not pick up Mana Storm as well because we did not level again, which was possible, but we were off by 1. So Mana Draw goes to the dummy and Wings of Wind is removed. As for the control over the offers, I think I want to get rid of as many spells as possible to see more damage spells. So let's get rid of Space Bending. But with Magic Talent it's a different story, because if I get rid of it, Mountain Lore will most likely go to the dummy if I'm not picking it up, which would be a green card with 2 crystals. So I'd rather give him Magic Talent or pick it up if there are no better options. The advanced action offer shows Crushing Bolt, so siege attack, physical, at least at some range attack. And the spell offer shows Offering Sacrifice, which is a range attack of 18 by itself that almost kills 2 heads on level 10. There's 2 points then missing. And we would need to make it a cold range attack, so we can actually kill these 2 heads because those are cold fire resistant. And then we have Chill, which again has the target keyword in both places, so it's not useful against the dragon. Since we did not explore anything, we of course did not explore the core tiles, so let's see what the units are. Another Foresters, Northern Monks, but we do not have a monastery yet. Red Cape Monks, same problem. And we have Thugs. The starting source is green, 2 black and a blue, so really not a good source. We are shuffling the dummy deck, that should do it. And we are shuffling our own deck and then we are ready to go. So let's draw our first hand of 5 cards. Diplomacy right away, a Promise, a March, a Crystallize, and a Threaten. So lots of influence, which doubles as block, but not sure how I feel about this. Let's move that over here, and we can think about tactics. So at this point the Glade doesn't do much for us, because it just produces black mana and we don't have a spell yet. So we really need to get going. We do have a movement card and a green mana in the source, that's nice. We also have the Familiars if we want more movement. And then we have so much influence that we should probably hire right away. I think the main question is, do we also kill the trackers before moving on? But we do not have any damage again, unless we are using Diplomacy and then use the Familiars to just kill them. We could also then reveal the tile first with March, but we could not even power the Diplomacy because we are lacking the white mana. Looking into source, Mana Search might not be the worst option, to be honest, to fix this. Otherwise we would need Mana Draw, but we do not even have white. Spying Power I think is out of the question, as is from Dusk. Preparation I don't know what to pull actually. Long Night Meditation I'm not sure as well, so I think Mana Search is just the way to go here. Make sure that we actually do use a source die every turn. And if we are not bothering with the trackers, I think we are focusing on moving on. I think we should probably power March, and if there's nothing really to go for, we might forfeit the 2 points and just play the Diplomacy with either Threaten or Promise to block the trackers and then kill them with the Familiars after all. Or we use the Familiars to just really move on and even explore more of the countryside tiles. I think we should probably look forward. So let's just do that. So we need to move forward, and looking at the source, Mana Search is the option to go here to fix this and make sure that we can use a source die every turn. And we really need some spells, artifacts, stuff like this, so focusing too much on the trackers is not a good idea. So let's see what the dummy picks, and he goes with Long Night. So he's before us, which does mean the dummy plays his first turn. Red, white, and then white, which is 1 more card, which is blue. So unfortunately no green yet. And now we can play our first turn. And we are using Mana Search to reroll the 2 black dice. And of course they both come up black. What are the odds? Well, it's 1 in 36. Alright, so I think using March is probably the best bet here. Using the green die, so we get 4 movement points. We then explore and see where we go from here with all this influence, which we all can't power with the given source. But at least there's a blue for Crystallize. But I think we need the knowledge what's up, and maybe the Familiars can also move us into position. So I think we just explore. So before we do anything or decide much more, we do need to really know what's up, and we are playing March then, our only movement card currently, except for the Familiars of course. And since the source only has green and blue, we do power it and see where this leads us. I will roll a d6 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Comes up as 1, so we are using this tile. Not that I know anything about these tiles, but this seems lighter. That could give me some information, so let's avoid that. Rose comes up blue, so 1 click clockwise. And there's a village, a rampaging orc, and another glade. That's the regular orientation, we rotated to blue. So we do have another glade, a village, and wolf riders, and for some reason I did not put a glade here, so I fixed that. Which is nice to traverse, but nothing much to do. Of course we could finally hire a unit with foresters, or our second unit. And I think foresters are a good pickup. The monks, as said, without the monastery are not hireable, and the thugs costing 6 influence because we already have some reputation, I don't know. But the village is still movement 4 away. We have 2 left, so we are lacking 2 movement, which makes me think that we probably play the Familiars for movement 5, since we powered that. That would bring us to the village with 2 more movement points and leave us with 3 that we can actually use to explore another countryside tile. And we do have enough cards here that we can then hire. And I think we just use Threaten and Promise for 4 influence. With the bonus it's 5, so we can pick up the Foresters, holding on to the Diplomacy and Crystallize. And we already used the Source die, of course. That would mean we pick up a unit, have used our unit. Maybe this gives us some speed back. So we will go to the village and hire. I think this is necessary to catch up, and with the cards we currently have, that's really pointing into this direction. With 2 movement points from March, we will then move into these planes, but it's dead, so March is used. Which does mean we need more movement, and we are activating the Familiars for movement 5, since we did improve this with the white crystal. So another 2 movement points brings us to the village, and with the 3 points that we have left, we will explore this tile. And afterwards, we will then hire the Foresters with Threaten and Promise, holding these 2 cards in hand. But let's first explore. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And this is 4, 5, 6. Comes up as 2, so we will again flip those. The rose comes up black, so it will be rotated 180 degrees. And it's a village, crystal mine, and a keep. That's the regular orientation. So the keep is where the village would have been, and that's pretty much that, so it doesn't change a thing. With the last movement point we can't do anything, and we will play Promise and Threaten for 4 influence. With the bonus of Reputation we are at 5, which allows us to pick up the Foresters in the village. This is re-rolled, black as well, so I'm really glad we picked up Mana Surge, even though it didn't do anything in the first turn. But that's it then for our first turn. We gave the dragon a lot more targets that are away from the portal, and we are drawing up 3 cards, and we can think about plundering later. But I really would like to avoid that to stick with a good reputation. So there's a Rage, a Swiftness, and a Concentration. But that's it for our first turn. So the dragon places first, and the lake actually is the equidistant line for the glade and the keep, which does mean the Wolf Riders and the mine are even further away. And the village, unfortunately, is furthest away, so will just be burnt down. So there was nothing to decide, and we go to Goldrick's second turn, which is blue, white, and green. So 2 more, which is green and green. So a fast turn, but burning almost through all green cards. And now we can play our second turn, and we try again with Mana Surge to get better colors. And they come up as red and gold, so 1 depleted die, but at least we have a red now. So the question is on how to proceed. And there's really not much to do here. Taking the keep is quite pointless in a scenario where sites are always getting burned down. The crystal mine is nice, but doesn't get us much. And exploring a countryside tile here, which is possible of course, I'm only laying them out because they fit nice. But that would mean that we have to explore the first core tile here, the next here, and then we can place the last one there. Which seems like it would be better to actually go here, because this is also the easiest path to traverse. I can't traverse the lake, of course. Forest at night is a bit problematic, and killing the Wolf Riders would not even level me, so I really have to go somewhere else. Again, we have to think about the third turn, which is in 2 turns, which might be a reason to go to the keep. Maybe it does also level us, so maybe go there after all, use it as shelter, it will be burnt down, and then go from there. But this would lead us back to this situation where we have the countryside tiles here, so the core tile must go here, here, and then the third one there if we need it. But if we are not taking shelter there, we would need to find something over here. And we currently do not have movement cards, but we do have the Foresters, of course, and the Swiftness. But I do think we might actually want to plunder the village to get 2 more cards, because we really need movement cards now. And I would like to hold on to Concentration and Swiftness for the time being. We could, of course, use the Foresters to go to the glade in the forest, which would be 4 movement then, because they reduce the cost, so Swiftness and Foresters would do. Take a wound, heal it in the glade, power the rage to kill them, but again it would not level us, and this doesn't lead us anywhere because we are still surrounded by forest. We could reduce the movement cost of hills. That would mean that we can reach the keep with 4 movement, which again would be the Foresters and the Swiftness, and we would need to bank on killing whatever's in there with the rage, or on concentrated rage. We also could put the next countryside tile here. That's possible because it's connected to a tile that's connected to other tiles, which then means we can explore countryside tiles here and here as they are laying actually. I do like that because it means that we can go to the keep now in the second turn and defend against the dragon there. So I think going in this direction here is probably not a good idea because it's just too much movement to cross, and with the foresters crossing to the mine, for example, would be the same movement because it's reducing the cost of hills by 1, which is then the decision here. Do we go to the keep and take shelter, which is nice for the turn 3, but we are only in turn 2, and going to the keep right away would be optimal here, because if we are using the foresters and then stop in the hills, this will be movement 3, this will be movement 3. And we are not seeing the defenders anyway. But that would mean that we will have a turn without anything to do, but then we are in a good position to defend and can go on from there. The alternative is to go to the mine and start stocking up on crystals, because if we want to go for the sacrifice play, and currently that's our only ticket to even get close to killing heads at range, then I think white crystals are actually quite valuable and we need to stock up on 3 of them, so sitting there might even not be a bad idea. But that would mean again that the dragon will attack us without any shelter unless we are exploring and moving on. We should have a look at the heads. There's a brutal 3 attack that can be blocked. There's a swift poisonous 2. That's annoying to block. This becomes a regular physical attack 3 that can be blocked, and again a regular attack 2 that can be blocked. So at that level, a lot of the attacks can actually just be blocked, but ignoring 2 heads of course saves a lot of resources. If we use the foresters now, their block can't be used, but we can wound them. The diplomacy can be used to block, but we would again need to use crystals for this or fully attend. That's the problem. Yeah, so I don't think we want to go for a situation where we do not take shelter, but it doesn't mean we need to rush into the keep. We could halt at the mine, explore the next turn, and then see if we find shelter on that tile, or go to the keep after all. Going to the keep might be too defensive. That's my point here, because it's essentially losing us a turn, because I don't see us pausing in between. Although we could do the pause here and just stock up on a crystal with crystallize, and maybe then plunder again. And now that I mention it, I haven't even plundered yet. So this is our second turn and we have not revealed any information yet, so we can still plunder. That was the original plan. I think I would like to avoid it, but wouldn't 2 more cards make a difference? And the answer is probably yes, because then we can move on and already explore stuff like this. If we can find a regular movement card, I'm really tempted to just play concentration with this, although we do not have green resource. And actually that's the reason why we can't plunder, because I already used the mana surge, so that's a mistake by me. But then again, I'm not sure plundering is the right decision anyway. Maybe we sit here for a turn, crystallize, and then plunder. Maybe that's the idea here, and then move to the keep. Well, actually, if we go to the mine, we can use the source die to crystallize. So maybe that's the idea. Use the foresters and swiftness, go to the crystal mine, get a white, and use crystallize to pick up yet another crystal, maybe blue. So we start with the crystals that we need for a sacrifice play. I think we need to take more risk, unfortunately. If this goes wrong, then we are really screwed. But we can't play too defensively. Being in the second turn means that we need to think about shelter now. But the problem is that rushing to the keep would spend the foresters, plunges into defenders that we do not know, without a green dinosaurs to even power the concentration. So maybe this is too defensive and risky at the same time. So instead we are going for the following. We are using the foresters for movement 2 and reduce the movement cost of forest, hills and swarms by 1, which does mean this brings us here. And the swiftness with another movement 2 will bring us to the mine, because the movement cost is still 2 of the hills. Which does mean at the end of turn we will get a white crystal. We are thinking about picking up sacrifice if we can learn that somewhere, but without we are really screwed when it comes to the final dragon. And since we did not use any mana die yet and the source is really bleak, we do spend the turn here to also crystallize, also picking up a blue crystal. So we have a full complement again, and white and blue are the ones that we need for the sacrifice play. This leaves us with a block card, an attack card and a concentration. We cannot scout yet, and we do hope that for the third turn we find a shelter by scouting, or we might have to go to the keep after all. So let's reroll this. Comes up white, and we draw up 2 cards, which is Tranquility. It might actually be good again. And a Tirelessness, so movement. That's very important. That was our second turn. The dragon doesn't do anything in the second turn, which means that Goldix is playing its third already. So it's red, blue and red. So no other card, that's nice. And he has 5 cards left, so we would have to hit a green for it to cut the round short. Then we can play our third turn. And I forgot to plunder last time, not that this would have been that good, but I already used the mana search. But now it's safe to do that and reroll the depleted and the black die. And for once we get colors that are actually usable, but not green. So we need to get going, and the tirelessness, fortunately, will improve other cards that we play sideways for movement. So hopefully that's enough to reach some shelter. I think we definitely empower this with blue. So I have movement 4, spend 2 on exploring, and then see where we go from there. Let's make some room here, and I think we have to redecorate the map because this is no longer the layout that will happen in the end. Alright, so we are exploring this here now, the countryside tile, and these are the coastline spaces, which does mean we can put the rows here because there's no countryside tile left to place here. And then this is the only legal core tile placement after that, then here, and then we can go here or here. But there's no rush in placing that. So there's a row for the orientation. Comes up golden, so it's not rotated at all. And it's a very busy tile, unfortunately. Hard to traverse. Since it's not rotated, we are facing a maze, which is an adventure site, so it's not shelter. We have a refugee camp that's counted as inhabited, so it could defend us against one head. We have a monastery where you can learn Peaceful Moment, and this should actually be visible. So these are diggers in the middle, and we do have 2 mountains. So what to do with 2 more movement points? I think we need to get to the core tiles, and we would need 6 movement to even reach the keep and still have to battle, which doesn't sound like a good idea. I think the diplomacy is really good to block the brutal head here because it's just too physical and we would not need to power it for this. The tranquility might heal us wounds if we still have some. The rage can also block an attack. So maybe the rage blocks the brutal attack of 2. And even though it pains me to play this crystal, diplomacy if powered then can also be an elemental block. Which at level 2 is completely pointless, I just realized, but at least it's 4 block, which could mean blocking the freezing attack. So 2 heads are taken care of. Then we have a swift poisonous attack of 2, which we could put on a Forester's. It's 2 wounds, but at least it's not hitting us. And the last head would be brutal, so if we are not blocking that, it's another 6 damage or 2 wounds to us, which again we can heal with tranquility, but then the Foresters would be kind of screwed. The refugee camp would be the best place to move forward to, but it's 5 movement, we only have 2. Another card sideways is +1, so it's 2, but we are still lacking a point, so we would lose 2 cards and provoke the Wolf Riders. They are just a wound and we could kill them, so with the dragon we would actually level. Moving to the maze doesn't do us any good, and I'd rather stay on the mine to stock up on more crystals. But it would again mean that we are facing the dragon without any support of a site. We also do have the taunt, I just remembered, so we can reduce the brutal attack, for example, such that it's just 4, which would be 1 wound to the Foresters, so we could take the poisonous attack. 1 wound in hand, 1 to the discard pile. Yeah, I think we just stay here and live with the fact that we again are not taking any shelter. If we do win this game, that would be epic. So the second round, we are not actually getting any help here. Let's see what happens. So even though we have tirelessness, every card will just give us 2 movement, but just 2, unfortunately. And moving here or there doesn't do anything, so I'd rather stay on the mine to get more crystals. The next shelters are 6 or 5 movement away, which would be 2 cards because we still have 2 movement points that we unfortunately cannot use them now. Which does mean we are not taking any shelter, unfortunately, but we do have cards that are really good to defend anyway, so we will try that. So we play the tirelessness, and that's it for the 3rd turn. Very slow turn, unfortunately. Die comes up green. We draw 1 card as a replacement, which is a mana draw, but that's our 3rd turn then, and the dragon will now attack us again, and we are not in shelter. So what do we do with this? The most efficient way to play is to use the rage against the firehead here that on level 2 is just physical, so it's a brutal attack, but we can prevent it with the rage, that's 1 head. Then we can taunt the head that has a brutal physical attack of 3, which reduces it to 2, doubled by brutal is 4, so we put a wound on the Foresters, but just 1. Then we have the physical attack of 2 that's swift and poisonous that we then take, which is 1 wound to hand and 1 to the discard pile. And of course we have the head that has a physical attack of 3 that freezes, which we do need to block. So we are using the diplomacy for that. And we can either use a white crystal to make it 4 block, or we spend another card sideways. And at that point I think I use the mana draw to preserve the white crystal. So we are blocking that, which does mean this is our hand then. And we did not fully attend. Actually we did fully attend because we used taunt. And we couldn't do much in the next turn anyway, so I do think fully attending is actually the way to go here because we want to stay on the mine. Which does mean we are pulling a white die for diplomacy due to fully attending to block this. This asset was blocked by the rage. This we have already taken, and this we taunted and assigned here. Which does mean we can now play the mana draw to use another die, the green one, to play the tranquility, healing the Foresters and the wound in hand. So another 2 wounds are thrown away. So we only have the wound in the deck. The diplomacy of course is also played, and we only hold on to the concentration. Yeah, that makes more sense. Diplomacy with white die, 1 wound in hand and discard pile, taunt foresters, mana draw after the battle to heal our wound and the one on the foresters, and this was blocked with a rage. So we have used 2 source dice, both deplete. We could have used mana search because we are fully attending, but it wasn't necessary and we can only do that before we use mana from the source, so that would not work. But since we fully attended, we have to flip this, but we do get our white crystal from the mine. Dragon flies back, that's his 3rd turn. And we also draw up, of course, because we fully attended. And we do get 2 fame, so let's not forget that. We are at 13 now, almost leveling again. There's an improvisation, a determination, a rage, and a stamina, so movement after all. But that's the 3rd turn of the dragon. Dummy plays his 4th. White, white, red, so we are not hitting a crystal. So we'll have 3 turns, and the dragon has only his 5th to destroy one side again. But that was our 4th turn already. Dragon doesn't do anything. Goldix depletes his deck, and we play our 5th, and we will have a 6th turn then. But before we plan, we reroll the 2 gold dice, of course, with mana search. And would you know it, both are coming up black. So what to do? I do think we really need that offering. We do not need to get it this night, but it would be nice to pick it up, and there is a mace. Movement 6 for an artifact is a bit much. The last 2 cards we can reverse engineer. So from the white cards, we do have the diplomacy, but it's extra. So from the starting cards, we do have a swiftness coming up. So we would have a concentrate swiftness combo. And the other card should be a march. Yeah, there's tranquility, march, concentration. So march and swiftness are coming up, which is nice if you want to do a maze. We do need 2 movement to get there and another 4 to enter. The problem really is that we are not revealing a core tile then if we are doing it like this. And currently the monastery is what will be destroyed. So Dragon would take the chance for an artifact away from us. But we cannot reveal a core tile here, so we cannot move like this. The core tile has to be placed here because of the coastlines. Also, if we take the maze with 2 turns, we will not be able to cast Offering. But we are running out of cards fast anyway. But maybe we should move to the maze now and fight the Wolf Riders to pick up another reputation and level. Now that the dragon gave us 2 fame, we do actually level, which allows us to pick up something else, for example the Crushing Bolt. Or we are just learning magic talent by leveling up and then just pick up the offering, not casting it this night, but at least we have it then. But I do like the idea of moving and killing this. So moving with the stamina, March is coming up. Rage will kill it. So with the red source die, for example. But if we are not playing another card, we will not see the rest of the deck because we will see the card that we pick, but only 1 more card because we still do not have a handlement of 6 then. So we could taunt it, which means the Determination will just block it then. Otherwise you would need block 6, so it's block 4 with taunt. Making it an attack of 5 is stupid, because it's still swift. Otherwise it would be nice with Determination, and the rage would just kill it. Without the mana, I mean. But I do not want 2 wounds, of course. We could wound the foresters, but we need to play a card anyways. But do I want to lose the blue crystal? For the mace, we want the combination, if we're playing the mace. So either the mace or magic talent, and then what else do we do? We could explore a core tile after all, and then see what else we do with the mace. So let's see, if we move there, kill it, maybe just wound the foresters, heal it later. We then would have magic talent, improvisation, concentration, a stamina and a swiftness. And we would need movement 3 and 2 more movement points to explore. We could also kill the diggers now. Those we could taunt, so they're trivial to kill. And then we could move to the refugee camp, explore. Well, we can't explore then, because the movement there would provoke the Wolf Riders and then the movement phase. I think we should really go to elite units, which does mean moving to the maze now, killing the Wolf Riders and then going on to explore. I think that's the safer route. We can still move back for movement 2 to the maze next day to pick up a spell or an artifact, but it would mean picking up magic talent, and we need a blue and a red to pick up offering. We have neither in the source, but we do reroll 1 die and have 2 other rolls. I think I'd really like a blue mana, because otherwise we will lose the blue crystal. And with improvisation and swiftness, we will definitely have move 5. That should be enough. And we are actually starting in a refugee camp, so we can actually hire whatever comes up in the next day. I like that a lot. And we do have influence cards. What we explore might be the lair. That would then also safeguard the monastery. Or it's the city. But the city is the MVP anyway. We can hire there. We have a shield there. We have higher hand limit. We can take shelter from the dragon after all. So I think moving forward is really the way to go here. But we cannot block the Wolf Riders with Determination without losing a crystal, which I do not want. But playing Determination just like that, actually that helps. Yeah, why didn't I think of this earlier? We just taunted, played Determination without mana, and then we are playing 3 cards, and we are actually drawing 3, which is so nice. We are giving the Mountain Lord to the dummy then, he has 2 green crystals, but I do think using Magic Talent to pick up a spell and maybe in the final battle cast a spell from the offer, that's good enough. That makes us very versatile, so I think we need to do that. So with the last 2 turns, we really want to pick up Offering after all, because we started already with grooming our crystals for a nice sacrifice play, and this also means that we want to preserve white and blue to get a full complement. We need to pick up the spell, and the mace would be one way to do this, but Magic Talent is actually the other. We can't play it then, but we also can't play it if we take the mace in the second turn now, so in the last of the round I mean. So in a sense it's easier to just level, pick up Magic Talent and then learn Offering and not do the mace now. Instead kill the Wolf Riders, level, get a reputation. So what we are doing is we are playing Stamina for 2 movement, and the mace here is actually in Plains. We then provoke the Wolf Riders, we taunt them, so the attack goes down to 3, actually they are swift. I'm an idiot. So I thought about this in the planning, then forgot about that they are swift, so taunt alone will not do it, and I really want to hold on to this blue crystal, which is why I do not want to power Determination. Actually, we need taunt to even make Determination work to block. So we do what was one other option and just take the 3 damage and put it on the Foresters, so it's not clogging up our hand. We then use a red source type for Rage to come up with attack 4 and just kill it. The problem is that we need to get rid of another card. So we actually draw the card that we level up to and the 2 cards that are left in the deck, because we do need the movement from these cards. It's March and Swiftness. But then again, why would we hold on to Determination in the first place? But now that we think of it, if we want to hold on to the Magic Familiars, we would need to pay another crystal. And we do have only 2 slots and are in the refugee camp. We'll see the core tiles soon. So I do think I will provoke the Diggers as well. Let's just do that. Then we are taunting them, but this time giving them an attack of 5 and reducing the armor by 2. With the attack of 5, we are wounding the familiars, and then Determination will just kill them. So that's a good use of the card. So those are wounding them, those are wounding them, Rage kills them, Determination kills them, and we use Taunt. This means we get a combined fame of 5, so we end up at 18, plus 1 due to Blitz, it's 19. And we get 2 reputation, so we are at plus 2, which will be nice when starting at the refugee camp next turn. So those are taken care of. This is rerolled, comes up depleted of course, but now we are leveling up. And the skill choice is between Refreshing Breeze, so finally a crystal skill that heals, and I'm loving it because it's white crystal that we need, and healing is obviously nice because we can just heal the foresters now. And Know Your Prey, that's such a good skill, where you can ignore any of the special effects of a token, either for attack, for its armor, or anything else, like Poisonous or Assassinate. But it does not work against the Cane Immune, which might be a reason to not take it against the dragon anyway. So I do think it's quite clear that we do want this, but there is Flight, of course, too. But healing and the crystal of the color we need for Offering, I think it's far too good value proposition. This is really sad, but what can you do? We do want to pick up Magic Talent, so we could take Flight, but I can't say no to this, so let's just take it. Yeah, this was a short discussion. We are definitely picking this up because it's healing and crystal of a color that we need. So unfortunately, Know Your Prey goes here. We do not take Flight, even though we are picking up Magic Talent, of course, because we want to learn Offering now. So another skill by Golix is the Green Crystal Craft. So another mana skill. The advanced action offer refreshes with In Need, another influence skill. But that's it then with our 5th turn. And we do draw the Magic Talent, of course, March, and the Swiftness, or Swift Reflex is actually for Wolfhawk. So the dragon in his 5th turn will destroy a site, and since we did not explore anything yet, the monastery is destroyed now. So the swamp is in the direct line to the portal, which means this line here, where it's just the monastery, is furthest away, and this mountain here. The dummy then announces the end of round in his 6th turn, which means the dragon will not destroy anything else. And we can play our 6th turn, which does mean flipping this to heal the foresters, of course. So 1 heal is nice. And we do get our 3rd white crystal. Let's make some room here. And we, of course, reroll 2 of the dice. So we hopefully get blue. And of course we get green and black, because we do want to use this to pay a red to pick up Offering, but we need to power this first, which we could do with this or with the blue crystal, but we want to hold on to this for the sacrifice. But let's plan it for a second. That could be what we need to power this, which would leave these cards to move. What's a bit sad is that we moved to the refugee camp, so we could even hire something, even the monks. But they're actually not the best units, I think, for this scenario. And they need, even with the bonus, they would need 5. And if you can't hide them in a village, they take 1 extra influence, so they actually had 8. -2 is 6. So even with these, if you power them, we can't reach that. So it doesn't matter in the end, which does mean we do play the improvisation either sideways or to toss another card for 3. So 3 either way. So this is exactly 5, and 5 is what we need to reach the hills and explore the first core tile. So I think we just do that, which means we can hold on to the blue crystal by producing 1 with concentration. Although if we would use the blue, we would have the concentration open to power with the green. We could do that with improvisation, which would net us 7 influence. That's actually enough to hire a unit. Because we will have an open slot soon, but we want to fill it in the next day. So let's just do that. Yeah, there is a slim chance that we could spend influence in the refugee camp to hire a unit to replace the familiars that will be gone soon. But we have 2 slots only anyway. I like the foresters for the moment. So picking up monks is probably not the best idea. Thugs is also a bad choice. So let's stick with the original plan. We use concentration for a blue, powering magic talent. Pay a mana of any color, gain a spell card of that color from the spell offer and put it into your discard pile. So we are learning offering and put it in the discard pile. This is then taken care of. And since we haven't used the source yet, we can actually use green for movement 4. Improvisation makes it 5. So with 3, we move into the hills to the refugee camp and then we explore this tile here. Let's get rid of all this. And we do need to roll between these 3. Let's make it 1, 2, 3, 4, and the dragon is 5, 6. And it is a 6, so it's the tile of the dragon. Let's roll for orientation. Green means rotate it twice, and let's see what it actually is. And it's neither the lair nor the city, it's just a neutral tile. That's the regular orientation, and rotate it to green. So there's a lot of swampland here. So the ruins are in swampland, and we don't know the ruins yet, but we will know soon enough. At the beginning of the next day, there's a green mine, not a mine that we need for the sacrifice play, a fire dragon. And again in swamp, a mage tower with unknown defenders, and just a forest and a lot of lake. So unfortunately, to get to the next tile, would either have to move around here or actually cross the swamp here. That's really not ideal. This is also the reason why it is always a good idea to pick up a movement skill that can traverse lakes, like Frost Bridge, Song of Wind, stuff like this. Or a spell, like we have already seen also. By the way, the spell offer we need to refresh. So that is Mist Form, pretty much what I was just talking about. So we can glide over lakes. Maybe we do it with Magic Talent next round. But that's that. So there's nothing to do with this. So we can just discard it. That's our last turn. We will not hold on to those, of course. We're not paying them, which does get rid of the wound, but also opens a slot for us. All right, so the dragon is somewhere here. We don't know. Once we have explored this tile, we can place it here or there. If it's not a lair, and we probably do want to get to the city anyway by the 3rd turn of the next round. But that's it for round 2. And again, we are lagging behind in fame even more than last game, even though we did remember to get us the 3 fame in total. But this game is really, really gnarly. I feel like these tiles here with the keep being automatically destroyed, with the swampland, with these ruins here, with the pull, 2 tiles without any mage tower or dungeon or anything, just to keep its off position. Then a tile that's hard to traverse with a maze, that's true. So maybe we go there to begin with in the next round. That was really hard. And even the mana surge roll were really unlucky. But at least we picked up the offering now. So this is our ticket to half the heads almost. There's 2 points missing. We do have Magic Talent that can be another spell in the final encounter, because we can just discard a card to cast a spell from the offer. We still have the Diplomacy, of course, 1 wound in the deck because we were poisoned. And that's pretty much it for the moment. And we did hire Foresters but lost the Familiars. Reason mostly being that I do want to hold on to the crystals for the sacrifice and not pay them, so we would have to put green on them, and I do still like to have crystals for other stuff, and there's a lot of green in the offer currently. Yeah, I'm not too happy on how it's going. Let's see if we can make it in the end. Mana Surge and Long Night are burned. The dummy picks up a red crystal, so he has 1 of each color now, but mostly 1, so doesn't matter too much. It spreads it out. And he's picking up Mountain Law, which is a green card, unfortunately, so the colorway he has 2 crystals from. At least we gave him a white card in the beginning. Let's just shuffle the dummy deck then. As for control of the offers, I gladly get rid of Chill because it's target enemy, it doesn't do anything. But the Crushing Bolt I feel like I have to leave because it's range attack, and we do need some more range attack to at least kill a 3rd head in range. So I think I'm leaving it for now. The advanced actions refresh with learning as last game, quite late. I think it was even the last round then, but nevertheless, 3rd round of a 4-round game is a bit late. And for the spells, we have Restoration again and Underground Travel again, like in the last game. Both are not helping with the final battle, but maybe Restoration is something that I should consider. But maybe the Well of Mist is also not that bad. At least it does something against the dragon. if we are not killing the heads at range. Since the monastery was destroyed, there is no replacement advance action, and we will now see elite units. But first the 2 silver, which are peasants and swordsmen. But since I have an open slot, I'm at a refugee camp, have influence cards and +2 reputation, I'm really hoping to see something good here now. The first elite unit is Ice Golems, no range attack, but good armor resistances and a nice attack of 6. And the second elite units are the Gunners again. I would say that's lucky, but then in a sense it's actually not, because with the offering, if we make a full sacrifice, we already have enough to almost kill the 2 heads that are not cold fire resistant. So for the remaining heads, we actually need physical range attack. So in a sense, this doesn't help actually that much. Unless we are doing a sacrifice with 2 sets only, that's 12. So this brings it up to 18 again, but then we would mix cold and fire, and the head that was cold resistant last time is fire resistant now, which means we cannot actually combine this. So I'm not sure this is actually that good. But then again, we are not done with the snowballing phase. We are just starting the 2nd day. So maybe picking them up to kill something is still worthwhile. Same with the ice golems. Maybe they help with the fire dragon, for example, if we want to go there, because we really should level up. In contrast to last night, the source now starts with 2 gold and 2 blue. But let's shuffle the deck then and get going. But I'm interested in what this ruins brings. And it's an altar with blue for 7 fame that actually might be really good to catch up. We start around with a hand limit of 5 again. So stamina, offering, a wound, a march, and a determination. And especially no influence cards, and we do want 2 higher here. As for the tactics, we still have early bird, the right moment, rethink, and planning. Let's also flip that back, which does mean we could, for example, swap out some cards. Alright, but let's make the most out of this day now to prepare for the final confrontation. And I'm sitting at a refugee camp, so I'd really like to hire. Maybe the gunners are good after all, to just take them to the maze. And in the maze then pick up an artifact. And from there then go to the altar and get another 7 fame. But it's already, again, a lot of turns, so where am I in the 3rd turn? And I think the idea was to find the city, actually. And doing this altar here with 3 blue makes only sense if I have mana draw, and I would again lose my crystal that I want for the sacrifice play. Especially if I pick up the gunners, I don't think it makes sense to sacrifice with red, because it's overlapping. Then the gunners can, with a swiftness, almost kill the physical head, but I really need to sacrifice for the fire resistant one. Maybe a 2-pair sacrifice is then actually enough, but what do I do with the other 2 heads then? The wound we can heal later with this skill, but we are currently at a limit, so this incentivizes us to actually use a white, which in a sense means that I want to defer the wound. The determination is also not useful currently, maybe once I get into the maze, but as said, maybe we pick up the gunners and try to kill whatever's in the maze with them. The offering is also good if you have more cards, and we are about to get our hand limit increase, but we don't have it yet. And especially once we are at the city, we'll have yet another hand limit increase. So at that point, it makes much more sense to cast the offering then. Which leaves the movement cards, which are good because we need to reach the maze and then pay a lot of movement to get this artifact. So that would be a rethink, but the question remains, how do we find a city in 3 turns to take shelter? Moving through here would mean traversing swamp. We can reduce it by 1 with the foresters at least. So that could also be an opening move to use 6 movement to reach the swamp, powering this and using the foresters, using one of the source type of the blue, but there's almost nothing else to do. I don't think these are valuable against the dragon in this scenario. If the dummy goes before me, then so be it. We could go for planning to make this more worthwhile. And if we play the stamina now, we could even power this to explore. Actually, just to play it maybe. Maybe we just use the foresters and this powered to reach the swamp and use this to see if we get the lair or the city. We then have 3 cards and planning kicks in. I think I like that more than rethink because it's gambling again. But we would leave the maze behind, the refugee camp behind. That can't be the right way to go, because we do need this fame, we do need to level. Once we have the magic talent, we can cast Mist Form. Maybe that's the way then to catch up quite quickly, but for the moment we need to really get going. I think I'd rather level up using Rethink and having a faster 1st and 2nd turn than to go for a larger hand limit that doesn't get us anywhere. Yeah, I think we need to get rid of the wound, the offering, and to be honest also the determination, just to increase the odds that we can actually hire. We do actually have a +2 already, so we need 6 influence to hire, since the gunners can be hired in a keep. And if we don't get the influence, we at least want to take down the maze and pick up the artifact. And the foresters would also help with this, because we then have 2 movement cards in hand and the foresters, but we would need some firepower to actually defeat the maze enemies. So I think hiring would be the best option, then taking the maze. but then it's already 2 turns, so we are hard pressed to find shelter again. But maybe this is just the way this game is going. Let's rethink and see what we draw. It's again hard to plan for sheltering, but dashing for the city doesn't make much sense to me because we are leaving behind a good way to hire, although in the city we can hire the gunners, so that's not a good argument. But the maze specifically would leave behind if we now dash for the city. And I do think we need to take chances like this to level again, to get an artifact. We can't just run away. So with this spirit, we do rethink to groom our hand to hopefully have a good first turn. So this means the dummy will only go before us if he goes with early bird. And maybe having a longer round, even if the dragon destroys one more side, is really beneficial. If you go before the dummy, we could even have something like 8 turns if the dummy goes really slow. And the dummy goes with planning. So finally Wolfhawk is going before Goldex. And we are rethinking, and we want to have this later when we have a larger hand limit. This also later to heal later when we actually need the 3rd crystal. And a determination might be good for the maze, but we want to increase our chances to hire first. So let's get rid of those. Draw 3 cards. Swiftness, okay. Improvisation, okay. And a crystallize. So those have to then be shuffled in. And that's enough. So what are we doing with this? I think this is not enough firepower to just move to the maze now with just the foresters. So I do think we have to hire, and improvisation is influence after all. We won't have the time to crystallize, although I do really want this blue crystal, but we do need these movement cards for the maze. So that would be 5 already, 6, 7 due to the reputation bonus, but we need to get to 9, it's 2 more. Actually that's bad, but it could trivialize the maze. But then again, the way I pull tokens, maybe not. But an attack or block of 5 is also still good. But we really need to hold on to some movement, and tossing this hurts a bit. And we do need 2 movement to even get there. And then another 6 for an artifact. So is tossing 2 movement cards actually the way to go? Maybe picking up the spell is not the worst thing in the world. But we would not be able to traverse the lakes or the swamp with underground travel, and the mountain we cannot cross because we don't know what's on the other side. And with mist form, we cannot cross the hills, so we would have to traverse the walls, which actually adds 1 point movement, but we could still glide over there and then explore from there. But what else can we do? We can hire something else but the gunners, but I don't think that's a good idea. We do need a range attack now and later. And going for swordsmen instead, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Peasants also, and why would I pick up the ice golems for the same price? I think we have to just do it and see what happens. The problem with the refugee camp is that the gunners now cost 9 to hire. At least 9, not 11, because they can be hired in a keep. But with the 2 bonuses we have, we still need 7. So what we do is we use a gold source die for improvisation, tossing the crystallize for 5. But then we need 2 more cards sideways, which hurts a lot if you do want to do a maze, and these are 2 movement cards. But this brings us up to 9. We hold on to the stamina where we have lots of blue dice, and we do need the movement as said. But I think it's worthwhile, and it depends on the redraw. But it means that we could hire gunners again and draw up 4 cards, and this is our first turn. The die stays gold, and let's see what we draw. So it's the wound again that we just tossed in. That's unfortunate. The mana draw, okay. A rage, alright. But some movement would be nice. Concentration. Well, at least with stamina that's 6 movement, so maybe this has to do. Goldex then plays his first turn after us. White, 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 which is 1 more card, which is green. He's always playing 4 cards at least, so that's nice. The dragon destroys his site, and going from the portal again, the swamp is furthest away here with this line, but it leaves the tower even 1 space further away. So the tower is actually already destroyed. Was defended by ice mages again, like in the last game. And that's that. Next time the dragon destroys anything, it will be the dragon, because this is then on the same distance as the swamp. So going to this tile is probably pointless. Again, I can't do the altar. Green is not as interesting, and this will be destroyed after the round. So that's the first turn of the dragon, which brings us to our second. And in this, I don't think we have a choice but to activate the foresters for movement 2, bringing Wolfhawk back to the maze, where we then use concentrated swiftness with a gold die. We still have the mana draw after all for movement 6, and we are taking the gunners into the maze to the artifact route. I might regret this, but I feel like I have to catch up. I need an artifact. The gunners might trivially be able to kill this. We can mana draw another die to power this. If nothing else, we can use the attack or block 5. We have a rage still. We can mana draw also this to power the rage. We could even power both, to be honest, with a crystal that we replace then. So I think we have options. Let's see what we get. And the enemy we encounter in the maze is a shadow. So you can be sure that I'm drawing a token that the gunners just can't gun down, because it's elusive with an armor of 8. But how can we kill this? So we can taunt it. At least that's true, so it's down to an attack of 3, which would be 1 wound, so that's already nice. Unfortunately, blocking it would still need a block of 6. The gunners have a block of 5, so we could play the mana draw sideways to block it, which brings it down to 4 armor, and we would need to Powder Rage to kill it. But we don't have a red mana, unfortunately, because if we play mana draw sideways, we can't use it to pull a red, and we don't have a red crystal. If we just taunt it to take the wound, I think that's fair game as well. We need to come up with 8 damage, which would be a rage and the gunners without powering them, so we would need a mana draw for the rage, but it's 9 attack then and we'll just die. We will then have 2 wounds in our hand, but I'm still hesitant to use this. So I'm actually unsure about the second taunt version. The first one clearly targets the attack, the second somewhat also, but it doesn't say it doesn't work against Arcane Immune, and it doesn't say target. Actually, I have to look that up. I'm not sure it's helping me in any way, because if I'm increasing the attack, I'm not blocking it, which would mean I have to come up with 6 damage, which could be the gunners on their own, but to what end? Or just the rage and the gunners, but it would be 2 wounds, so why not just take 1? And if I have to activate them anyway, just kill them. So looking at the companion, they agree with me that you can reduce the attack, but you can reduce the armor, which would mean that you can probably still increase the attack by 2 if you for whatever reason would want that. So yeah, I think it means that we are taunting the attack down to 1 wound. Then we need 8 damage, which is just the gunners and the rage. Unfortunately, we need a mana because if we are using the gunners like this and the rage like this, that's just 7. We could play this sideways, but then again, we can just pull the die. Although pulling it would mean rerolling it, so maybe playing the sideways is actually the safer route. So of course we can kill it, but it's a bit painful because I hoped it would be easier. But we do taunt the shadow, which is okay if we just reduce the attack, even though it's Arcane Immune, so it's down to 3 Coldfire attack, which is 1 wound with an armor of 3. So unfortunately we have 2 wounds then in hand, but that's the attack. We did not block it then. Blocking would mean using the gunners and another card, but then we would not have a red mana to actually kill it. So we do need to do it like this, which does mean we need 8 attack now, and the gunners will provide 5. The rage will be another 2, that's 7. And we could either pull a die, but then we would need to reroll it, and it's currently gold. So we just play it sideways then for 3 and 5, that's 8, which kills the shadow. We get 4 fame, which of course does not level us again. I'm not sure if I'm unlucky or just playing bad, to be honest. But we did not forget the fame from defending against the dragon. But that's that then. We discard all this. This was played and discarded. We did use our taunt. We could use the skill to heal, but we would lose a crystal. So I think I'm just doing that just to see more cards because we need to speed up. And having 2 wounds in hand is really not a good idea. So I'm healing 1, even though I can't get a crystal. But I have to decide it before re-rolling. Let's end the turn. Comes a blue as well. We mark the 6 route with our shield. And this brings us to the rewards phase, which is an artifact. This is why we used concentration. Let's hope for something good. So the choice is between the emerald ring, which is green. I would rather have another ring, but I shouldn't complain probably. And the circle of proficiency. Now that's something. I think that's actually awesome because we can use any non-detective skill in the common skill offer, including your own, as if it was your skill. So we could just use flight with this and next turn just fly there and have a chance to actually find the city. And we can use Know Your Prey, we can use the mana skill, we can use Hawk Eyes, we can use whatever we like. If it's a skill usable each turn, when it does not flip, use its effect twice. So Hawk Eyes would give us 2 movement and so on. And if we break it, we can actually swap out a skill from us with any from the offer, even our own again. Actually, swapping out is with the faction tokens. This is just getting one. So at any point we can break it to just pick it up. And although we do need black mana in the end, and having infinite black mana is nice, I do feel like we need this now to maybe play flight, for example. So I'm definitely picking that up. So that's our second turn, and we do draw up. Unfortunately not to 6 because this damn shadow just gave us 4 fame. So there's the circlet. At least we got rid of a wound to draw more. There's tirelessness, that's really good because we need to move. There's the threaten and swift reflexes, another movement card, although I'd rather have some other card, but I think we have to live with this. So that's 5 cards. That's the second turn. Let's play gold the second turn. Blue, red and blue, which is 1 more card, which is red. So there's a lot of green still in the deck, but it's just the difference between 4 and 5 cards. At this point, his deck has 18 cards. So if he's always playing 4, it would need 5 turns to exhaust. If he's playing 5 once, that's also fine. He would need to play 5 2 times for this actually to be a problem. So let's see what happens. Second turn, dragon doesn't do anything. So we are in our third turn. And I do think the way forward is clear. We do need to explore this tile here and hope for the city. So we are playing the tirelessness with a blue die. We have so many blue dice that we should get going. That's 4 movement. And I think we should then play the Circle of Proficiency with flight to spend 2 of the movement to just fly to the swamp. Because currently the swamp is a movement cost of 8 away. 5 for the swamp, 2 for the plains, 1 for the wall. So if we can move there for 2, that's netting us 6 movement for just 1 card. And that would leave us with 2 movement to actually explore, but it doesn't mean that we can reach the city, unfortunately. This we need to be aware of. So if we can reach that with 8 movement and then fly to the city, if it's the city at all, that might be preferable. But that would mean powering this, and then we would regret using the skill now, but then again we would not have drawn it at all. We would not have used the skill to heal. So that would be 2 more movement if played sideways, and that would be either 3 or 5, depending if I powered or not. And I'm not sure if this can bring us to the city, because usually cities are surrounded by other stuff, and it of course depends on the tile orientation as well. So we might just be stuck in the swamp. But then we could also explore another tile, which we would need to do anyway if it's not the city but the lair. So is there any sense in stopping at the refugee camp and have that ignore us 1 head? Because it's really unlikely that we actually hit the city. That's a coin flip and can get there with the movement that we have. So we're now facing 2 poisonous attacks of 2, 1 swift physical attack of 3. That's the easiest one, it's just a wound. We have a cold attack again that freezes that we should really ignore. And a brutal fire attack of 3. That's also just annoying, because it's 2 wounds if we ignore that. But the only fortified site we have in reach is the keep. And are we really going there? Not really. Hawkeyes with the Circle of Proficiency can let us explore these 2 tiles from this space, but we would not be able to move there, so I think it's quite pointless. But again, I think the way is to move forward. I don't see a good alternative. Ignoring 1 head is nice, probably the cold attack that freezes, but there's still one with 2 attacks that poison. If you're not ignoring that, then how do we deal with this? That's 4 wounds if I take it myself, and if I assign it to units, they can't be really healed. The Swift 3, as said, is just a wound, it's okay. Maybe the brutal fire one is the one that we taunt again and assign to the foresters. So foresters, myself, but we at least need to ignore 1, 2 would be really good. So what's on the tile with the lair? There was a tomb, there was a mage tower, and probably a mine. So there is a fortified site, but can we take that? Maybe with taunting and powering swift reflexes we can, but it would probably just be lucky. Let's hope for the city and let's hope that we can get there. Are we screwed otherwise? Should we really go for the keep? But can we take a keep? Getting to the keep if we use the circlet is just the tirelessness flying over, and then we have 2 movement points left. So there's just 1 left to reach the keep, which could be the threaten. But again, defeating the keep would then bank on this card here. I think this is just not the turn to conquer anything. Swift reflexes with taunt can reduce the freezing attack of the dragon to 0. But then we could not assign 1 wound to the foresters. And we will draw up a different hand anyway. We haven't seen the diplomacy yet. We haven't seen the determination yet because we shuffled it back in. There's still a rage to block something, like one of the poisons attack too. I think we just have to chance it. Try to reach the city, if not, hope that we redraw something useful. Maybe we can kill something small, but usually there's nothing that small on these tiles. But moving to the refugee camp is just wasteful. Yeah, I think I need to try. I really need to see if the city is there and if there's any chance to reach it. So this decision might screw us over again, but after this turn we will be attacked by the dragon, and the hand is really not that good to defend against that, and the only site in range is the refugee camp that would make us ignore 1 head. But moving there is really wasteful. Moving to the keep is really out of position. Even with magic talent we can then cast Mistformer Underground Travel. That's not really getting us back. We are just moving in the completely wrong direction. So I think I'd rather move here using the Circle of Proficiency with flight and hope for the city. If not, we can also explore there, but then it gets unlikely that we actually get shelter. So what we are doing is we are pulling a blue source die to power tirelessness for 4 movement, and then use the Circle of Proficiency to use flight from Goldex for 2 movement points to travel 2 reveal spaces, and we are jumping to the swamp here. That leaves us 2 movement points with which we then explore this tile. Again, we have to roll between these 2. Let's make that 1, 2, 3, and this 4, 5, 6. So it's actually this tile. So let's hope that this is the city and not lair. Let's roll for orientation first. Actually, if it's the lair, we don't roll for orientation. So let's look at the tile first. And it's the city. Now the orientation is really important because we might still be able to reach it. Let's roll for the orientation first, then for the city color. Gold means it's actually not rotated at all. That might be really bad. Yep, it is. So we are facing a dragon and a river that we can't cross. And the city is actually the green city. So the dragon facing us is a swamp dragon. The green city is the city where you can learn advanced actions, either from the offer or from the draw pile. And I mean, I have a shield there. There's a keep with unknown defenders and spawning grounds on the opposite side. But we can't reach the city. That's the most important thing here, because we used flight already. So I think we should rather have gone up to 9 here, move to the swamp, explore with 2, and then fly. Actually, that's 1 point short. But let's not dwell on that. What are we doing now? This exhausted our current movement, but we do have the tirelessness effect that every extra card gives us +1 movement. So the most we can get is 2 and 5, so that's 7 movement, which could bring us back to the refugee camp. Or we move forward and just explore the lair now, which without random tile orientation would be like this. That's open information. So to reach the city, would have to traverse the wasteland of the tomb, the forest, and then to the city. That's 4, 3 from the forest is 7, that's 9. So yeah, this is impossible because we already used our movement for flight and to explore, and we would need to explore again. It's another 2 movement points. So I'm not sure this is worthwhile doing now, because getting to the refugee camp is 2 for the plains, 1 for the walls, 3 for the hills. That's again 6. 6 is a really bad number because it's 2 and it's 5. So I'm either lacking 1 movement or have 1+, and 1+ does not make me explore things. But I do have a magic talent coming up, and I fear this must be the solution then, to either use underground travel, which will not work. Actually, it can, if we move around like this is really inefficient, because we would need to get here first and then underground travel to here. This is really painful. So green is probably better, and we do have 2 green cards here. So Tranquility is missing and a March is missing, because if we are now moving back to the refugee camp, it will be really painful without a spell to reach this. Or do we just stay here? We could play the threaten to explore, using the fact that this sideways is just 2 movement, holding on to this for reduction of enemy attacks, and hope to draw diplomacy, even though diplomacy would be nice to have with threaten, but I think I want to increase the chance to draw something more. So we will draw 3 cards, because of course we are lacking 1 fame to have handlement of 6, and we can't reach the vicinity of the city. Yeah, I think I need to try to defend against the dragon without any shelter for the full game, so let's do it. 3rd round. This will make me level after all, so that's the nice part about this. And we do have in need in the offer, so maybe that's the play. I don't know. So let's explore the lair and then face the dragon. Let's see what we draw up. So at that point I'm somewhat suicidal, I have to confess. I feel like I'm really unlucky at that point. So what we will do is, after this has all been played, so this is back in the offer, these are discarded, but we still have the effect of tirelessness. So we do face the dragon again without shelter, but use this sideways for 2 movement, even though it could be good with diplomacy, but we don't have seen it yet, so what's the point in holding on to this if we then don't draw it? To explore the lair and then face the dragon without any shelter yet again. So of course I had to move the map to put the tile here. We know it's the 3rd tile of the core tiles, so we know that. Without random tile orientation, it's placed like this. Dragon would be here, the lair. I'm all up for rotating that, but I'm not sure this makes too much sense, because it should be facing away from us. It could block the way to the city, so it could make it harder. Could also rotate a tower towards us, which would make it easier. So I think I leave it like this, like the last time. So besides the dragon's lair, there's a mage tower, a white crystal mine, and a tomb. I'm just realizing that I can't even walk around the dragons without provoking it, so that would have not worked anyway. But we can reach the city with underground travel if we get magic talent and discard a green card, so that's nice at least. But let's see what happens. This is the end of our 3rd turn. Source die comes up black for a change. And we do draw 3 cards, and these are the cards that we have at our disposal to fight against the dragon. So there's a March, that's not helpful. There's the diplomacy, that's good, actually. That's really good. And there's tranquility, which is not the worst, to be honest. So we can recoup from the battle. But that's our 3rd turn. Now the dummy plays his 3rd. Let's see if he hits a green. Green, white, green. Okay, so he's playing 2 more, which is blue and blue. So he has played 5 cards once, which should mean he has 5 cards left. So if we are hitting a green, which is just a 1 in 5 chance, because there's just 1 green left, we will have more turns. But this leads us to the 3rd turn of the dragon, where he's flying by again and taking a bite out of me. And how do we deal with this? And I feel like we have to power diplomacy, so we can make it a fire block 4 to block the freezing head. So that's taken care of. Then we have the swift 3 physical that just gives us a wound. Then we are taunting the brutal fire attack of 3 to make it a brutal fire attack of 2, which doubles to 4, and we can wound the foresters, which does mean we are fully attending again, unfortunately. But I think we need to do that to have a chance here, which allows me to pull this die to reduce 1 enemy attack by 2, so we are reducing one of the poisonous physical attacks by 2, which then leaves the other poisonous physical attack of 2, which again wounds us and gives us a wound to the discard pile. But it should be all the heads, so let's quickly go through it again. With a white crystal, influence 4, choose Eyes of Fire. You may use influence as block. So we do have 4 fire block to block this. The swift attack we just take as a wound. The brutal 3 fire attack we taunt down to 2, double to 4, assign to the foresters. We use a source die to reduce one of the physical poisonous attack to 0, and the other one we take in the face, so another wound to discard pile and to hand. And finally we use the green crystal with Tranquility to heal 2 of our wounds from hand, so we are not that blocked from this, to recoup a bit. But that's then our turn. This is all discarded, this is all played. We've used our skill, we've used our source die. We are again flipping our round order token. Reroll the die. That's green, which is nice since we have a march left for Underground Travel and we have blue for Magic Talent. So we are drawing up, but we did level because we now get 3 fame for defending. So we had 26, 27 due to Bliss, which does mean we have our 3rd command slot and a hand limit of 6 now, which makes us draw 4 cards. And there's just 5 in the deck, so we will almost be out of cards. The dragon flies back to his lair. There's a Determination, it's a bit late. A Rage, also a little bit late. The Offering, and a Magic Talent finally. That's really good. The Offering without many cards left is a little bit pointless, but let's see. So that was the 3rd turn of the dragon, which comes to our 4th turn, in which we just flip this back, since we fully attended. Then we have Goldix. Let's see if he hits a green or not. Red, green, and then this can't be green, so it's white. Another card. Oh, actually we gave him Mountain Lore. I completely forgot that, so this was actually quite a higher chance to hit green. But he did not, so in his 4th turn he did not exhaust his deck. So we can play the 5th, so the dragon will destroy something. Then the dummy will exhaust, so we have a 6th turn. The dragon will destroy something. We have a 7th, dummy announced end of round, dragon will not destroy something. So it's the first time the dragon might destroy actually 2 sides. But that's then the 4th of the dummy, 4th of the dragon does nothing, so we are on our 5th turn. And we need to think about what we actually want to do here. And the overall idea was to use the Magic Talent with the March to play Underground Travel. Actually, we don't need to power this for this because we don't want to learn it, but use it. This would bring us to the Green City if we want to go there. But it sounds like a good idea because we have a 3rd slot. And with a shield, we are actually at +3 already. The card that's left is a Promise, so more influence, even though we do not have white currently in the source. We also do not have red in the source, by the way, because otherwise, what are we actually doing with all these cards? The dragon is a bit out of our league. We cannot really block that with Swift, even with Taunt. That would be 5 block. But to what end? We still need 9 attack. So if anything, we should taunt it up to 7 physical attack poisonous. But it would be sad. It's 3 wounds. We could, of course, completely annihilate the gunners. That's bad, because we can get up to 6 attack easily. Actually not, because we don't have red. The dragon is really bad. But what are we doing with green and blue? Getting a spell to a discard pile does not help us that much. We could use it to cast Restoration, but we can't reach a forest without Underground Travel. So let's heal 3. We could heal ourselves and the foresters. We can't do Rebirth because we are at day. Actually, we can't hire in the city, but at least we can learn something. That's a nice idea. We do have +2 with Promise and a Crystal, unfortunately. We do have 6. That's enough to learn something. Maybe Crushing Boulder in Need is really good to have. We are already running out of time because at the end of this day, we have not killed the dragon. And if we kill it next night, it's all resources we do not have for the final confrontation. And currently looks like Offering will give us 12 damage, so 1 head. And the Gunners with some other cards is another head, but it's pretty much it. So it's looking quite bleak. We cannot even just move into the tomb because we would provoke the dragon again. And do we really want to fight a surprise dragon if the Swarm Dragon is already too much for us? We can actually explore a countryside tile here. That might be funny. And even sit maybe on the white crystal mine to increase our chance to have 3 pairs. Would be really bad if we can't cast Offering just because there's no red. But I don't see how we could get to red. Yeah, I think we need to get to the city to have a chance to hire something awesome next day. And we want to defend in the city to get another 4 fame. So we really need to take out these spawning grounds or the dragon or this keep. But what are we actually doing with 3 more turns? Maybe just moving to the city now without playing anything else and just looking for the rerolls. For white for Promise, red for Offering, or gold for whatever we want to do. And maybe just take the keep. But we won't have the movement, it's Wasteland and we are out of movement cards. Maybe the play is just to learn in need and use the wounds that we have to get a lot of influence. Yeah, so let's take it slow, go to the city. I don't have any better idea. The tomb is really out of our range. Crystal Mine is nice, but do we really think another countryside tile will fix all of our problems? let's just move on. So we are really out of good options, I think. And the original plan was to use Magic Talent, and that's what we are doing then. To discard a card of any color, you may play one spell card of the same color in the spell offer this turn as if it were in your hand. The card remains in the spell offer. So we discard March, and then we need a green die, of course, to cast Underground Travel, and we move by up to 3 revealed spaces. We are not provoking anything, and we can't move through swamps and lakes, but 1, 2, 3 does not leave us through lakes, and we are in a green city. And since we do have 2 more turns, we want to take it slow, so we're just re-rolling that and hoping for white, red, or gold. And it does come up red after all, so I could catch a break. But that's it then for our 5th turn. So we take it slow, and we draw up, and it's the promise that we are still lacking. And after our 5th turn, Goldex will still play and exhaust his deck only, which does mean the dragon is now destroying something. He will destroy the mine or the tower, and I think I want to go for the tower then. So the tower is already gone. Familiars, which does mean the mine is next, and we are not going to announce the end of round probably. But let's see. This brings us to our 6th turn. Actually, I'm miscalculating again for some reason. Since the dummy is always before the dragon, even if he plays 5 turns, he will announce the end of round in the 6th, so the dragon will not have a 6th turn, which is good for us. So we play our 6 because we are before the dummy, and after announcing end of round we can play a 7, so it's safe to play 2 turns. Alright, but since we did roll for red, I think we must play the offering. That's just far too tempting. And we will most likely then sacrifice these 2 because we can't do much with them, which will give us 2 red and a blue, and a blue especially is important. And with the promise, we cannot actually do that much, because without powering it we won't have 6, so picking up in need is actually quite hard. And even if we don't have a green yet, unless we roll into it again, but the card would give us 9 influence if we can power it, and just 5 just like this. But what do we do with 9 influence? We can hire the ice golems then, that's true, but they are not actually the best unit, and we can't hire them, so I'm already lost again. There's no unit currently that can be hired in the city, so it's just action cards. And getting an action card to get more action cards is probably not the best idea. Although the crushing bolt would be ranged attack, that might be a reason to pick that up. But we could pick up in need as a first action next round. How many wounds do we have in the deck? Probably 2, 1. No, we did heal the other one, so that's 1 in the deck. So we might have 1 on a unit if we are not drawing 1 in the opening hand. So I'm not sure this is worthwhile. I think I just give crushing bolt to the dummy, drop in need, hope for some new advanced actions, and just pick up a white crystal, I think, because we need this anyway. And I don't see a better use currently, and I just hope for a good last round. So let's just do that, I guess. So we could have 2 turns, and with any luck, if we roll into white, we could get to 6 influence. But we really, with the red die we luckily rolled into, we really want to cast Offering. This gives us a red crystal right away. And by dropping Determination, we get a blue, which is quite important. And there's no reason to hold on to the Rage, which is another red. And red is also good because we have the Gunners and we need to cast Sacrifice in the first place. There's also a reason why it's good to use blue as a color, blue and white, instead of red, because you need to get that started. And you don't want to use a crystal because otherwise you can't sacrifice it. So without knowing what to reroll into, I think picking up a white crystal and forfeiting the last turn is probably the better place. So we're also picking up white for Promise. So this is all played. We just have a wound in hand. Let's see what this would have rerolled to. And it would have stayed red, so I'm feeling better with my decision. But that's it for the 3rd round and the 2nd day. In all honesty, it's not looking that good, but we will see. So the dummy announces the end of round. Dragon doesn't do anything, we would have another turn, but that's quite pointless. Alright, so we ready our units. These are the foresters that we still need to heal. They are the gunners. Tactics are eliminated. We flip our healing skill that can heal them and give us also a white crystal. Actually, that might have been a reason to just use a crystal for Promise. But then again, that would mean that we have 1 crystal instead of 3, because we just got 1 and instead we lose 1. So this would only bring it up to 3 again. So if you want to make a sacrifice play with 18 range attack, which I still want to do, because then with the mana that gets freed here, we can cast Swiftness, which is actually a problem, I'm just realizing. Because we do need these 2 more range points to kill the 2 heads that are not cold fire resistant, but one of them is fire and one of them is physical resistance, so the swiftness will actually be inefficient, so it will just be 1 point of damage and we can't split it up. So unless we are getting some cold ranged attack, that's actually a problem. So even more problems, unfortunately. But let's talk about the dummy first. He's unfortunately picking up a crushing bolt, so a green card. So he has 2 green already in the deck. That's the color where he is most from. But the other is a white, and he's picking up a blue crystal now from Mist form. So the spell is eliminated. We shuffle the dummy deck. It has to be enough. I will definitely drop Restoration, unfortunately, although there could be a play to do 2 goes with the dragon, but I think I will most likely lean into sparring power again. So let's hope for other spells, and we need to see more spells. Let's get rid of that. And we might have a wound on the unit, so that could be influence 7 by its own. But I think I want to see more advanced actions, especially since I can learn them in the Green City. Let's reveal them, so maybe we can learn them. If there's an Ice Bolt, for example, that's really important. So we're removing them. The advanced action offer refreshes with Agility and Ambush. Both are casts that can do range attack. That's quite interesting. Those are really good. And the spell offer refreshes with Flame Wall, which is not that good if you are killing a lot of heads at range. But then again, I do think the control head counts as an enemy too, so it says that all heads count as an enemy. Yeah, so the manual introduces the 5 heads, and then the very next sentence is that each head is considered an individual enemy. So the control head counts 2. So if I'm only killing 2 heads at range, for example, the fire attack would immediately be an attack of 11 or a block of 13. But it is fire, and there's only one head that's not fire resistant. But if nothing else, it's just a block 7 that could be enough to block a head. Well, they almost all have an attack of 8, one has 11, but we do have taunt, so a block of 7 will actually block a head. And the burning shield, of course, is also fire block, fire attack, so the wrong element again. And the exploding shield doesn't do anything because the enemy is arcane immune. So really bad spells. So let's see what silver units we have. There are Guardian Golems and Magic Familiars. I cannot hire either of them in the city, of course, but we do have a keep here. And now the elite units. But first, let's actually reveal the defenders of the keep because I'm in the city. So I should see that at day. And these are thugs that actually also give us reputation, counteracting the assault loss of reputation. But 2 fame is really pitiful, so let's see what we do here. But let's see what the elite units are. And there are catapults. So those are really nice. That's insanely good. Although by themselves that's not enough damage, and the physical part cannot actually be increased. That's the sad part. And the other unit is fire mages, which I cannot hire. And again, it's fire, so it's the wrong element. We need more physical range attack. So these are the units. We then shuffle our deck. And of course, I already forgot about the shields again with the promise. So with +2 and the shield's already +3. But it doesn't change a thing because I would have needed 6 to do anything and the promise just gives 2. But I really have to keep that in mind now. Maybe Rebirth would have been good to leave actually, so we can ready units with the gunners and the catapults to attack twice. But all this elemental attack doesn't do us any good if 2 heads are actually cold fire resistant. We will see. We get 4 fame by defending, so we need 4 fame to level. Again, the thugs don't help us there, so we would either need to kill the dragon. But this is where my thinking comes from. If I'm using units, then I don't have them for the dragon. So maybe it's the spawning grounds, but these take resources too. But at least these are dungeon enemies and not dragons. Source comes up as depleted, green, green, and white. And I think I've shuffled enough. So let's draw our first hand of actually 7 cards. Let's not forget about that. I'm in the city. I have a hand limit of 6 finally because I leveled to level 5, which is quite pitiful. But let's see what our 7 starting hand is. The Diplomacy, a Tirelessness, Magic Talent right away, a Promise, so more influence, Determination, Crystallize, and an Improvisation. Interesting, let's see what we can make with this. Remaining tactics are from the Dusk, Midnight Meditation, Preparation, and Sparring Power. So let's think about what to do. So Agility and Ambush would both be nice. Agility takes a lot of movement, and I didn't pick up any movement cards specifically. But with Tirelessness, at least there's a chance to get a lot of movement. So picking up Agility might be wise. And we do start with Diplomacy, Promise, and maybe even Improvisation, although Improvisation could also be used for something else. So is there any sense in thinking about preparation? What would we pick for this? As already stated, I always tend towards Sparring Power to just get as many cards as possible. If I have a hand limit of 7 and can put 4 or 5 cards under Sparring Power, that's 12 cards. We do need a lot of movement to initiate battle, and the mountain is actually facing us because we did not rotate the tile. So we have to traverse Wasteland. And I'm not sure I want to use Underground Travel, but if we stay in the vicinity of the city, we cannot actually bypass the dragon, I'm just realizing, unless we are using Underground Travel. But as for what to do, of course we also want to hire the catapults. But I feel like we have to kill this dragon. But as stated before when we thought about this dragon, blocking doesn't do as much good. It's not elusive, and spending a lot of resources to come up with 10 block. I'm not sure this is wise. We still need 9 attack to bring it down. Ambush might have the added benefit that it can increase a spell as well, so it would give us exactly 2 points that we need to bring up Sacrifice with 3 pairs to just kill 2 heads, which again leaves the gunners quite pointless. Not totally, of course. It's still a range attack of 3 if inefficient, which leaves 7 to kill a head. Or we can just use them for an attack or block of 5. But it might also be a good time to just look at the heads that survive. So we would get rid of the freezing head and the swift poison. which in all honesty is not the worst, because poison doesn't matter that much at that point, and swiftness neither if you're just taking the attack, because we then have to endure another freezing attack, which I do not want to do, of course, and an 11 attack of poison. But then again, 11 with 3 or 4 armor doesn't matter too much, will not knock me out. So if I have to prevent that anyway, knockout will not be a big problem. But then we need 20 attack physical. So 5 from the gunners is already 25%. The catapults are not even that good then maybe, unless we are using the inefficient range attack from the gunners, 3 from the catapult, and 2 swiftness, for example. We have enough white mana to kill the head that freezes, and then we just, in quotes, need to come up with 9 physical attack. That's probably the way to go, so we should definitely hire the catapults. What else would we hire, especially in the Green City? We are +2 with a shield at 6 influence, so we probably should just play the promise and probably also the diplomacy, because the capability for an elemental block is really not that interesting on level 10 heads. Oh, I'm completely missing the control head, of course, which is 10 psychic damage. So unless we are getting our 4th armor, is 4 wounds 2, or we would need a lot of influence, which could have been a need if we just drag it into the battle after the first head wounds us. Would have been trivial to cancel the control head. But we do have the luxury of assigning damage to units this time, so I do think we are fine still. Yeah, but is there any sense in taking preparation over sparring power? Only if we want to attack the dragon twice, and I do not want to do this. I want to get another skill and another action card by leveling, and then make a glorious large attempt, as always in these games. So let's just go with sparring power. And as usual, it doesn't matter then what the dummy does, so he goes with From the Dusk. I have some kind of deja vu, and we put that here again so we don't forget to put a card under this. But we still need a first turn. Unfortunately, I do not have blue in the source, so I cannot produce the last blue crystal, and we really need this. So I'm not sure what to do with this. We have to hold on and luckily reroll into this with a 16% chance. Doesn't sound like a good idea. But what about a dragon? It is 7 fame after all. It does not level us, of course. Would have been too easy otherwise. It will give us 1 more reputation bonus, so influence +3. Or do we just use underground travel later to attack the city so we don't need to kill the dragon? Is there any sense in trying the spawning grounds? Whatever we learn now, we should either use it right away or we have to drag it around till the battle. If we go for agility, that is a nice card, but again, it needs a lot of movement, so we would need to hold on to tirelessness. If you're not killing anything, defending against the dragon will not level us. If we get rid of the dragon, we can try to conventionally approach the Apocalypse Dragon, which would free up magic talent. And to be honest, what would we even use from the spell offer within the Apocalypse Dragon fight? Burning Shield and Flame Wall are both the wrong element, so they are not doing much. Underground Travel would save us a lot of movement, so that's a plus. But my problem is that we are leaving the reach of the city if we do so, and before that we are dragging the magic talent around, and the green card we drop for casting it in the first place. We can get the last blue crystal, I just realized, with the Circle of Proficiency by using Goldix skill. That's nice. I'd really like to see more skills in the offer by leveling again, and we are back to the fact that we need to kill something. But do we drag around Crystallize? If not, I would really like to pick up a green. We can use a white crystal to power this to 6 influence. So with the 2 and the shield, we can pick up the catapults. I think that's nice to get it out of the way. Then we would pick up a green crystal, and these would be the cards that we have left then. We then pop this to heal them and get the crystal back. Determination is good for the attack of the dragon. 2 heads we ignore, 1 we can cancel with Determination. And the last one, in all honesty, we might just again take to the face, because I do like to have the foresters for the attack of the dragon, I think. They can soak up a lot of damage and have a block 3. That might be important. We won't have a 4 slot, and what else do we hire? I think, even though it pains me a little bit, I have to hold on to these cards to then see what I redraw and then continue planning. And these cards are all helpful, depending on how we continue. So let's just pick up the catapults, get a crystal, redraw, see what happens. Alright, so we are taking Sparring Power again, so we put a card on a Sparring Power first. But let's not forget that the dummy is before us again, so Goldix starts. We just gave him From the Dusk, because it doesn't matter. And he is playing white, white, and green. That's 2 more. It's white and green. So at least 2 green cards are gone, but he hit 1. We need to make room for the dummy. And in our first turn, we put a card on a Sparring Power. We do use a white crystal for Diplomacy to get 4 We've promised at 6, 7, 8 due to reputation, 9 due to shield, and we pick up the catapult. Since we did not use a source die, let's clean that up. We are using a green source die to crystallize, to get rid of the card, although we do need another blue crystal, but we try to use the Circle of Proficiency there. So that's 3 cards played. This is re-rolled. These cards we hold on to. The plan is to flip this, heal them, get the crystal back, but we do not need to do that now. So let's re-roll this. Comes up white. The dragon destroys a site, which is the mine because it's closest to its lair. Dummy plays the second turn. Blue, green, which are both really good, but blue, so 2 more, which is red and green at least. But he has played 10 cards now, and he has a deck of 19. So there's only 9 left, so he must play 4 and 4 for us to have a lot of time. We should have drawn, of course, up to 7 again. So there's a Tranquility, a Concentration, and a mana draw, and we are now second turn. Alright, so I feel like this has to mean that we kill the dragon now. If we just ignore the attack, we get 2 wounds to hand, 2 to the discard pile, which we then can heal with Tranquility. But we need to come up with a 9 attack. This we want to keep for the dragon, although we do not have blue mana again. That's really annoying, so we have a mana problem. Maybe mana draw is used after all to turn a die in the source blue, but we do need black mana. And the source is also not showing that. Let's put a card on Aspiring Power, even though we are just thinking. Yeah, I think when the dragon attacks, we should not bank on having blue mana to get to 5 block. But if we are in a city, we can ignore 2 heads, and we should probably ignore this and one of the physical freezing, which does mean the foresters, once they're healed, have a block 3, determination block 5 can block this head, and then we run this into the foresters, which kills them, unfortunately, but it might be the cleanest solution. But then we also do not need to hold on to this, because a rage would do the same trick if we get one. Because I'm still puzzling out how to get to 9 damage, unless I'm taunting the dragon, living with an attack of 7, which gives me 3 wounds, 3 to the discard pile. Discard pile is quite irrelevant. 2 I can heal, but then we only need 7 attack. Improvisation is already 5. Determination or concentration would be another 2. And I should probably hold on to the mana draw, so we can actually get black mana in the fight. We might get through it otherwise if you're not rolling it, because we do not have any other source for this, and we do really need that to initiate the sacrifice. But of course we also need 1 for sacrifice, and the gunners we might not use at range, so it might not be that important. We really need the ambush to kill the 2 heads, and the other 2 are really fair game. Depends on what we have. But the ambush doubles as the 4 movement that we need to enter if we are close to dragon anyway. The guilty I'm not sure about, because it might be that we do not have that much movement, and any card with movement 4 is just a range attack of 2, but it's physical, which is the MVP against these heads. So with 3 we are just lacking 6, but it would be 12 movement, but the card itself gives us 4 of course. But we would need 2 other movement cards, for example, tirelessness and much more. But can we hold on to that many cards? We need a magic talent to underground travel without using that much movement if we go for this. And we are only leveling for 1 card, so the other one we would need to learn with influence. And we have already seen a lot of influence cards. I'm running out of cards quickly anyway here. Red we do not have unless we use a crystal. That could mean that we use this as 7 attack with a taunt, but Tranquility we can then not power. Well, we can if we use the crystal we just got. It would still leave us 1 wound in hand, but the dragon would finally be gone, and it would be much easier to pick up another card, since we then have +3 and 1 shield. It's already 4, so the threaten will just give us a card we need. And we might be able to do a resting turn. I think that's the best I can currently come up with. So let's do that and see what we draw up for the 3rd turn. While thinking, we put a card on Aspiring Power for our 2nd turn. And we thought about these cards, Mana Draw, Tirelessness and Magic Talent, that we might want to hold on to use Underground Travel later, and if we do an Agility play, which leaves these cards now, and we really need to get rid of this dragon, I think, because I don't see me going to the spawning grounds to fight 2 unknown enemies and all these resources. We will get an artifact, but it's a lot of movement to get there, so I think I'd rather stay at the city, make sure that we do level after the dragon attacks us, get a reputation for +3, so it's easier to learn ambush, which we definitely need for the sacrifice play. So let's provoke this dragon here. And for some reason I'm liking to get attacked by dragons in this game and get shredded by this. So I'm taunting it such that it has an attack of 7, but the armor goes down to 7 as well. 7 means that I'm getting 6 wounds, because I'm not going to block that. 3 in hand, 3 in the discard pile, but I don't care about the discard pile at that point in the game, which does mean Tranquility will heal 2 once we spend a crystal. But let's do that before we actually kill the dragon. But now we just need to get to 7 attack in quotes, so we are using the green from the source for concentration, improvisation, tossing, determination. So that's 5 increased to 7, which does kill the dragon. So unfortunately we are stuck with this wound for now. There's again no reason to use this now, because we still have a third turn before the dragon attacks us. So we reroll this, comes up white as well, and we do get 7 fame. And of course that's not enough yet, but we also get 2 reputation and are sitting at +3 now. The way would be clear, but I think the current strategy is still to use underground travel with magic talent. But we do have all the options now. But it's our second turn. We do draw 3 cards, unfortunately only, up to 7 again. So there's a stamina, not useful. The circle of proficiency, that might be good. And yet another wound. So it looks like a resting turn. The dragon does not do anything in the second turn. So let's see if the dummy finally plays 4 cards. Blue, blue, and he hits green again. So 2 more cards, that's white and red. So he only has 4 cards left. That means he will exhaust his deck next turn. So it's really giving us not that much time, but this brings us to our third turn. And I do think I need to get rid of the wounds. Let's do Sparring Power again, I forgot. So if we want to use this to heal them, and I think we need to now to be able to defend against the dragon, we really need to get rid of a lot of stuff. This is a special effect, so we can use that to get a crystal. But do we play this just to get rid of it? What we are losing is 1 green. Actually, we can just break it to get a skill, but use it later, so we have a green mana at our disposal as well. So I do think we are resting and using this. So we are drawing 4 cards, healing them. I think this has to do, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to do this. And it's still the same reason that we need black, that we need to hold on to this. This we still need for the underground travel and the tirelessness if we want to pick up agility after all. But we only have this turn, then the dummy exhausts his deck, and then he announces end of round. So we only have 3 turns, including this one. So resting, defend against the dragon without fully attending, leveling, picking up the card, then a turn to learn, and then we would need to use underground travel in the final turn actually, which might be okay because I do think putting 2 more cards under Sparring Power. No, we already put 1, so we can put 1 more and we have to draw all the rest. If we play all this now, we are already drawing 4, so I think this has to do. Alright, this will be a really close encounter. Again, we put a card under Sparring Power by thinking, because I forgot it again. But the idea really has to be that I discard the stamina with 2 wounds to get rid of them, which then finally means that I'm flipping this to produce heal 1 to finally heal them, because we need them now for the dragon. And we also get our final white crystal. Then with the Circle of Proficiency, we really need to use that now. We do want this because we need the blue crystal, but if we now flip this just to hold on to the artifact, we will squander a green token, and I do want the option to use that later. So I'm breaking this and just picking that skill up instead. But it's our third turn then, which allows us to draw 4 cards now. Let's hope there's at least a rage for the dragon. There's a rage, okay. There's a swiftness, there's the offering, and there's another swiftness. Unfortunately, these are all cards that we would hold on to, I think. But let's see if we can make it work. So that was our third turn. Now the dragon flies to us again and attacks us, but we are in a city, so we can ignore 2 heads. And the idea was to ignore one of the heads that freezes, and also the attack that's swift, which leaves a physical 5 attack and a physical 4 attack. And the physical 5 we can block with the Foresters and a Rage. It's not using mana. And then the attack of 4 that freezes, we can run into the Foresters, which unfortunately kills them. But we are out of healing anyway, so if we assign anything to them, we will not be able to heal them. So I think we have an open slot, unfortunately. But that's that, and we do get 4 fame, which with the Blizzard rule sets us at 39. But I fear, since we are not fully attending, I'm not leveling up because we are not doing the end of round sequence. So we will level up after the next turn. But that's the dragon's third turn then, which brings us to Goldix, and there's no chance he does not exhaust his deck because he's hitting green, which doesn't matter because it's 4 cards anyway. So he did exhaust his deck in 4 turns, unfortunately. And since we are also going after the dummy, we will just have 5 turns, not 6 or 7. So we can play our 4th turn, and this time I will remember to put a card on Sparring Power. But let's think about what we do with these last 2 turns. So we will level up after this turn, which does mean we can pick up Ambush. And we want the last card, of course, because we want to see our whole deck. Which means we need to draw 2 cards. Dragon has, by the way, flown back. I really would like to use the 2 swiftness to also kill ahead with the catapults, but I'm lacking 1 range attack, which could mean picking up agility. I can power all this with the white crystals that are turned into mana from the sacrifice. Ambush we can trigger with this, but we would need to learn something now, and I'm lacking a green card to leave with Underground Travel now anyway, which is another green mana, by the way. And the mana draw we would need to produce black mana, at which point we cannot use the source because we need a white from the source first to cast the sacrifice. With the blue mana we can cast Tirelessness and maybe Staminas if we pick up agility. Well, if we stay here we need to get rid of 1 card only to draw the card from level up and the last from the deck. Which sounds a bit like Magic Talent because the rest might be important, but with +3, 4 from the shield, unfortunately that's just 5. That's not enough to pick up agility. Let me quickly look through the discard pile. Oh, how many movement cards we can actually expect. Stamina is actually here 1, but there should be another one, okay. Marches cannot be powered. Threaten doesn't do much, but it can be played with Tirelessness for a range attack of 1 as well. I think I want to pick up agility, because otherwise I cannot kill a 3rd head at range, and I think that's quite important that we do that. Unless I'm overshooting, of course, with the gunners, catapults, and 2 swiftness. But having a margin there is actually quite important for the Underground Travel play, but we only have 1 green mana. We can still, of course, toss the Threaten to cast a Flame Wall for block 7, to block the head instead of killing it at range, and maybe use agility also to just produce regular attack. It's also physical, it's much more efficient, but then we would need to come up with like 20 attack, and if we don't assign damage to the gunner, I don't think we need to actually, but a control head with 10 is 4 wounds, so if we leave this head it's an 11 attack, and if the catapults, which hopefully are not relevant at that point, soak up 4, that's still 7, that's still 3 wounds, and any other 2 wounds will actually fry us, so we would need to assign to the gunners anyway at that point. Which could mean that we are using them after all for just a range deck 3, 3, 3 and 3, that's 12. It's inefficient. We can then soak up 10 damage here, which could be the control head. Actually, they use their level, not their armor, against psychic damage, so that wouldn't work. So we rather take the 4 damage ourselves, and then there's 1 damage left from the poisonous attack, which is 1 wound, which does not knock us out. But we only need to come up with 10 damage then, only in quotes, because we won't have any units for this. So where's this damage coming from? A rage is 4, so I'm back to agility again, but just for physical damage. But we haven't solved the problem yet on how to use Underground Travel and Ambush. And I was already thinking about using another spell, because we do not have the mana to power the Underground Travel as well. And we might not have even the mana to power the Rage if we need 1 crystal for Offering or Sacrifice, and another one for the Gunners for this range attack play. We would need movement 9 to get into position, 5 for the Forest, 4 for Wasteland, to then with Ambush initiate the combat. And we do not have this kind of mana here. We might just lack the mana. We really would need to reroll the source, but it would mean using a white now, and I really do not want to use a white. But we do get a skill, maybe we get a mana skill after all, or we are just picking up Flight, but that would mean that we have to take Learning. That's unfortunate, but it would solve the issue on how to get into position. Yeah, if we want to pick up Agility now, we would have to toss 2 cards, and we can't toss any of those, we can't toss any of those. So it's just not possible. And the problem with agility is that we can't fill up the 2 missing range attack that we need for the level 10 heads with physical damage because it will be inefficient. Because the 2 heads that we are grouping are physical and fire resistant, so there's only cold damage that works. And if we're using the catapults for that, that's total overkill. But it would work, and it opens up agility again, and we don't need the ambush. At least the tirelessness effect is for everything for the rest of the turn. So we could initiate battle with this, and then every card, including Threaten, would just be to move. So I think Agility is actually the better pickup with the level up, but I cannot even toss this card if I'm still playing with Underground Travel. It would really be good to know what this card is, because we won't have it for the attack, unfortunately. But how important can it be? I think we need to hold on to all of this. We pick up Agility, not Ambush. We use the blue mana where we have a lot of anyway, for Tirelessness, 1 Stamina and the Catapults. Not a Magic Talent, because we are just discarding. And we need a green mana for the Underground Travel. So we just don't have the card, I think. I think that's unfortunately it. Let's just try that. But actually we can't do that because we need to play a card. We are in our 4th turn, we haven't played a card yet. And we cannot play no card. I do think, even though it pains me, we have to play the mana draw to turn the gold die black. So we have the black in the next turn. We re-roll a white, which doesn't matter because we have to use the source die already. Yeah, so I think this needs to get us black, otherwise the sacrifice play doesn't work. And if we don't re-roll anything, this needs to use a white die to produce black. I cannot use a crystal, and at that point it's pointless. I can just do that now. Okay, so we have to do that and hold on to the rest. We will then see the rest of the deck at least, so that's the plus. And then we take agility with the level up, because we cannot power ambush anyway. I am not sure if this is all working out. Alright, so this is a really sad turn, because we only have 6 cards, because we defended without fully attending, but still, we are still at 6. And if we want to get a card from level up and a card in our deck, we need to play one. And we need to play one anyway, because you have to play a card in your turn. And all these cards are important, but the mana draw actually, we can power it with a white, take a mana die from the source to turn it to any color, get 2 tokens, so we get 2 black. This is legal because it's an effect by itself. We don't need a target to pay with this, but this means we can reroll this and have played this, and we now have access to black. And we needed the source die for mana draw anyway, so we just take the black next turn. So we reroll this, and if with any luck, we get a color like green where we're actually lacking mana. But of course, it's also white, so that doesn't help. But now we are actually leveling up, and let's see what the skills are. And the skill choice is between motivation, which I don't think does anything, because I'm not leveling, I'm seeing my whole deck anyway. And actually a blue crystal that heals me as well. That might be good. And since we are not picking up learning, otherwise we could pick up flight, it would be nice. But we do think we need agility. We are picking this. This goes back to the offer. Goldix as his motivation skill. And we pick up agility, not ambush. The reason is that we have 1 green mana, none in the source, no crystals, and we need that for underground travel, unfortunately. So agility might be more important. So we pick that up. Now counterattack might be something, but we can't get that now. That's our 4th turn. The dragon doesn't do anything. The dummy announced the end of round after his 5th, unfortunately, which does mean we have 1 turn left, and we would have drawn these 2, of course, which is the agility, and it's a march actually, which is nice for magic talent. So let's pile this all up, because now in our 5th turn we of course are popping sparring power, which gives us another march, the threaten, a wound, and a rage. So yeah, not that eventful. So 11 cards, unfortunately there's a wound in there as well. And we have 2 units, both level 3 at least. It's looking interesting. Let's see. So all the information is revealed. Let's get to it. The wound is the least interesting card. We do need to start with the magic talent, discarding a march, so a green card, and there's no other options. This allows us to cast underground travel. Let's move the unit over here and the skill line over there. So at that point we are using this for underground travel, which brings us in the vicinity of the dragon. The plan is then to use a tirelessness, where we actually need a blue mana, I'm just realizing, before actually sacrificing. This is where this comes in clutch, I think, so we can heal the wound. Let's move the discard pile over here, because this is our 3rd crystal pair, and this gives us then a token, which we can use for tirelessness and heal the wound, which then brings us finally into the battle. Movement 4. We then have to cast Sacrifice with a crystal and a black source die. At that point we are sacrificing all of this. And let's fill up with a gold token to mark our 3rd blue crystal, to not get confused with the crystal we already had. This gives us a ranged ice attack of 18. We then use one of the blues for the catapults to make it a ranged ice attack of 23, killing 2 heads, the one with physical resistance and the one with fire resistance. We then cast all these, so the agility, swift reflexes, and the swiftness, which is a ranged attack of 3, 6, and 2, that's 8. And all the movement cards we play get +1. So the agility is actually 5 movement. So this is another 3. So we had 8 movement, so that's 4 range attack. So this is 6, that's 10, which kills another head, which is this one, which would freeze us. So there's unfortunately no targets for all this blue mana here. But this leaves the control head with 10 psychic attack and the attack with 11 physical attack that's poisonous. So the question is, do we use the red mana to power the rage for 2 attack, or do we power the range attack? And I'm leaning towards powering the range attack, because I think we need to wound the gunners, because this will give us 4 wounds, and we do still have the taunt, of course, so we can reduce this to 10 and run them into them, so we are not knocked out, but they cannot help then in killing, which would mean that we have 3 range attack, so we don't need all the 8 movement here, but just 2, which leaves 6 movement, which is already 6 attack, but that would be mean here, so this is 7, 8, and this is 10. Did we just kill the dragon? Actually, I'm not even sure I use this now. So this is 6 range attack. This is inefficient, but we are at 9. So 2 movement of the agility is already 10. Whereas 2 movement left, actually 3 movement. 3 movement here, that's already 6. this is 8 due to tirelessness, which brings it up to 10. So I'm not sure if I screwed it up again, but if this works out, that would be really awesome. It would be extremely close then, but for how clunky this game has been going and how underleveled I am, last time with the compensated fame that I forgot with the hard mode, I would have been at 48, 49 with the bliss rules, so I'm more than 10 fame behind for some reason. Well, I do know the reason, because my progress sucked, to be honest. I leave it up to you to judge if this was bad luck or bad play. I think in the beginning probably bad play, but let's see if we can make it after all. So let's go through it one more time. So we might actually work it out, but I'm hesitant to call it out early because I'll tend to screw up things. So let's go step by step. We are starting in the green city, of course, so we need to play the magic talent first, discarding March. Discard a card of any color. You may play one spell card of the same color in spell offer this turn. As if it were in your hand, the card remains in the spell offer. So at that point we are flipping this. This gives us our third blue crystal, which we marked here to not get confused because we did not start with 3 crystals. And it gives us the green token that we need. So we flip that to cast Underground Travel, where we move up to 3 revealed spaces. So this remains in the offer, of course. But that means Wolfhawk can leave the city through the forest, the tomb. Doesn't matter too much. Actually, I would like to stay at the tomb. Why not? And now we need to initiate battle. And Dragon is in Wasteland. We cannot actually attack it here, but this space is legal and it's Wasteland. So it's for movement. Which does mean we need a blue mana that's not from any of the crystals. So at that point, we are flipping this skill that we just picked up on level up to get a blue token because we already have 3 crystals and 1 heal. The heal gets rid of the wound, not that that matters that much. And the blue token now powers the tirelessness. Let's mark that. So we have move 4, and each other card providing move, including cards played sideways, gives 1 extra move this turn. And the turn is actually quite important because we are not yet in the battle phase, we are still in the movement phase. But the movement 4 of tirelessness will then move Wolfhawk into the space of the dragon. So we are pulling him out here and attacking the dragon. So that's an active effect, but I have no movement left. At that point, finally, we can use a red crystal and a black source die for sacrifice, using the 3 blue crystals that we have and the 3 white to have a ranged ice attack of 18. But it's not enough to kill 2 heads because they have 20 armor, which is why we use one of the tokens that we get from sacrifice to activate a catapult. So for a siege ice attack of 5, that totals a siege ice attack of 23, but we cannot group any more heads, which does mean that this head, which is fire resistant, level 10, 10 armor, and this head, which is physical resistant, level 10, 10 armor, is now killed. So we've already killed 2 heads. Let's put them under the control head again. So that's nice, but how do we proceed? We now use the 3 white mana to cast Swiftness with Reflexes and Agility, and we use another red crystal to activate the Gunners. Those give us range fire attack 6, which is inefficient against both because they have cold fire resistance, but it's still counting as 3 range attack. The Swiftness and the Swift Reflexes give us another 6 physical, which are efficient, so we are at 9. And the Agility allows us to convert movement points into normal attack 1-1 or range attack 2-1. So with the 4 movement we get here, 5 due to tirelessness, we are using 2 to produce another physical range attack, that's 10, which does kill one of those. And it doesn't matter too much at that point, but I do want to hold on to my units, so I'm killing this one, which is cold fire resistant, level 10 armor, and it would have had 8 physical attack that freezes, so we are killing this at range as well, using Swiftness, Agility, and the Gunners inefficiently. Which does leave this head, and of course the control head with a psychic attack of 10. Since we have used our units already, we will now taunt this dragon, so reduce the attack to 10, which is exactly armor of our 2 units. Which does mean we wound them both, and this is already used, of course, this is already used. And they are poisoned as well, so it's not looking good for them. But they shield me completely from this attack, otherwise I would have gotten 1 wound, which is not important because the control head does have a psychic attack of 10, which is then 4 wounds, so I could have taken another one from the last damage point without being knocked out. But I'm getting 4 wounds now from the control head, and the other head was tanked by my units. Which does mean we now need to come up with 10 attack to also kill this head, and it has to be physical. At that point we have 3 more movement points from Agility, so it produced 5 due to tirelessness, 2 we have used for 1 range attack, so it leaves 3, that's 3 attack. This is 3 movement due to tirelessness, which is then 3 attack also, so we are already at 6. The threatened sideways is 1 movement point, due to tirelessness it's 2, which brings it up to 8. And we do have a rage that's regularly attack 2, so which brings it up to 10. And at that point, without any mana to spare or any point of attack to spare, we can also kill this head, which does kill the Apocalypse Dragon. And all this is discarded, all the skills are used, this would be rerolled, and we have a glorious amount of wounds on our units and in the deck. This sucked, to be honest. This was really sucky. And to be quite frank, with how the round started, I was considering just abandoning the game and making the post-mortem to talk about what went wrong. I think there was a lot that went wrong. Starting with the fact that I gambled after all. I talked myself into this because the keep was destroyed, so this play seemed quite pointless, and this was so stupid with swamp at the edge of the map. So I went through the middle, where it was obvious that I might get stuck, at least with some wounds that I have no healing for, with another token that I have to defeat, and I'm not hiring anything, with the dragon coming at me after the third turn. So I think either play here would have been better, just to pick up a unit that makes me help with the dragon, and both sides would have ignored another head. So a unit and ignoring another head would have been awesome. So maybe even going here, proceeding to the mine, and then just exploring would have already been better. I would not have leveled, that's the problem with this approach here, but at least it would have been consistent, and this really screwed me over. I somehow battled through all this, moving here, blocking this without actually defeating it, which made me end up underleveled again, even though I now got the 10 fame from the dragon. Without the 10 fame, I would be totally screwed. And from there, I did not really accelerate that much, because these tiles were really uneventful. I did not make the maze in the second round as well, but I could start hiring units, but I had 3 at most, and not actually that good of units. This was then pointless, I couldn't do anything of this. I had to tank all the dragon attacks, besides the 4th round, fully without any shelter, which makes the game kind of epic, to be honest, but also quite sucky. Ending up here, not having access to the city, with a dragon that I can hardly defeat, but I made the most out of magic talent, underground travel, reaching the city, hiring another unit. But I did not end up picking up ambush as well, which would have been nice, but I lacked the mana, so maybe I should have taken Mana Storm in the beginning. I don't know. The game felt like holding me back all the time. I was really unlucky. I'm re-rolling into black all the time. Nothing seemed to work, but we picked up Sacrifice in the second round without actually using it. Then with a turn of luck, rolling into red from the source to cast the offering once. And with the skills we picked up, in the end, we could get the last crystals, but it was really important to get that. And the Circle of Proficiency, we had 1 artifact only, but these are exactly the colors that we need for the sacrifice play. So we made the sacrifice work, but at level 10 that doesn't even kill 2 heads. And you do need more ice attack, everything else would be inefficient. So swiftness doesn't do anything. So we went with agility, with tirelessness of Wolfhawk, and it ended up working in the end. And we did get a taunt really as our first skill, but we did use it a lot to navigate through all these enemies and the heads, so there was some benefit to this. I don't know. What do you think about this game? I tried to make it a smoother version of Against the Dragon after this very annoying last game with lots of mistakes, lots of stuff to compensate, and playing accidental hard mode. What I can tell you is that this was not smoother, but I contribute a lot of this to the setup. Yeah, we had a keep that was destroyed, no questions asked. I couldn't even prevent that. And then the way through the middle was a ruin which was 2 green enemies, which sounds not like much, but if you are just starting out with level 1, that can be too much. And the trackers that bar my way. So do you go into a direction which does not level you without a keep, without shelter? Or do you go to the edge of the map in swampland? I think this setup sucked. But I'm not in the business of just abandoning the game and then just rebuilding the map and starting over, which you can do, of course. You can start over until you have a really nice start where there's a dungeon at the first tile and you get an artifact right away. But I want to play the games as they are set up. So when this was also complicated, I thought, do I abandon this as a postmortem or do I try and make it work? And I think I owe it to you to at least try. And we managed to wiggle through somehow into the second round. So if there are no more mistakes, I will see that in the review. It's still quite hot in here where I live, so it's noticeable that you are not as sharp thinking as usual. So I hope it holds up. If it does, that would be epic. It would be a prime example of a game that really sucks in the beginning, that really prevents you snowballing, and where I tanked the dragon 3 times without shelter, and you can still make it even against a level 10 dragon. Does it make the scenario too easy? I don't think so. At that point, I'm really willing to say that a level 10 dragon, in solo at least, I'm always talking just about solo, this can screw you over quite hard. Because you're playing on such a tiny map that if you're not making the most out of it, you will get screwed over quite badly. Because the dragon will pummel you and he will take sides away from you, which gives you pressure to explore that he's not destroying the sides that you need or rely on. And with all of this, you still need to be efficient, snowball, get artifacts, level. Leveling was really hard this time. So yeah, I don't think it's too easy, at least not in solo. I'm not sure how the difficulty is supposed to scale if you're playing multiplayer, but because with every player you get more powerful, but a dragon, I'm already playing at 10, so where's the scaling for multiplayer coming from? I haven't read it actually, maybe there's some twist to this, but I think you need to ramp up the level for this to be a challenge, especially since you get handed out 10 fame over the course of the game, which compensates for the interference with the snowball phase, as I've written in the comments of the last video. But still there is the effect that you need to somehow weave these attacks into your positioning in the rounds, always the third turn, which limits what you can do. You're losing sights, so there still is this hampering in the snowball phase. But if you can kill heads at range, then you at least do not have to deal with the attack of those. And I managed to somehow get up to 3 heads again, even though I did not have Into the Heat with 2 gunners. But a full sacrifice, which with level 10 is not enough, as said. And I do think, as said in the beginning, that the psychic attack are quite different from this, and again different from this, because a dungeon enemy and a dragon, which I both possessed, this can be quite bad, I think. And in contrast, this will give all other attacks of each head +3, so if you're not killing anything, that's +12 for sure, that's bad. But let's be honest here, you are supposed to kill at least 2 heads at range. Everything else would be quite stupid, I think. Because blocking them, unless you have in counter attack, nothing else works, so you can't destroy a head by blocking it with exploding shield or something like this, or tornado. So these 3 I'm not sure about, unless I'm misinterpreting this, but it's not in the rules, at least not in mine, printed, and I didn't find it. This you can actually prepare for if you have something like a need, because you're getting so many wounds with these high levels that a need will just take care of this, I think. It might have been nice to allow partial blocking with influence, so that influence is not counted as block, but instead, as with cumbersome, is used to reduce psychic attacks, because then you can have the odd amount of influence to bring this down to some manageable level, or even assign it then to some unit, instead of still having to block it in full. Of course, if you can kill all 4 heads, then you are fine. And I think with lower difficulty settings, this might actually be feasible. So if you're still finding this too easy, I think you have to introduce more units, stuff like this, to the final fight, or play without the fame bonus from defending. That would also be the trick, so that you are really hampered in your snowballing phase. I'm looking forward to reviewing this and see if this holds up. This game sucked so hard. And I think I spent an hour at least for the first turn or something like this, because it was such a bad setup. I'm not sure if I should really cut some parts out of this, because this was really long and going back and forth. Alright, but it was the second attempt against the dragon. I think last time, if we would have remembered the fame, it would have been easy enough to win with the gunners and Into the Heat. But then again, the game would have taken a completely different turn. I think it started with the beginning of round 2, where with 1 more fame I could have stayed at aces before taking the tower to higher, and I think I would have done that. I'm not sure what impact that would have had. Maybe it would have been much easier even. Maybe I even would have snowballed much harder. Or it would have taken a different turn and I would ended up not actually making it. I don't know. Probably not. Yeah. But this time against level 10, which is not that much harder, to be honest, but with really bad setup and probably bad decisions in the beginning, it was a real challenge and I really thought I would not make it. Let's see if it even holds up after all. But I think that's that. Next time I will probably play The Apocalypse is Here, so the full scenario. 6 rounds, horseman and a dragon. I'm really looking forward to this. But until then, see you in the next game.